We're trying to keep on schedule today, so we'll start. We still have a few folks to join us in the hall, but we'll go ahead and get started. So I'd like to welcome all of you to spring semester. We've had an interesting fall semester, and I'm assuming spring semester will be much the same. Some good things going on, and maybe some things not quite so good. But we want to make what we're doing here meaningful for all of us and for our students as well. I'd like to start out. We're going to be live streamed, by the way, so we've got some technicians in the room up there, and this is going out to Staples campus and probably to all the world. So it puts the pressure on all of us, I guess. What I'd like to do is talk about some successes of fall semester, and then we'll revisit fall semester. Whoops. Try now. Is that better? Not much. Okay. Okay. Let's try that. Okay, so we'll talk about fall semester a little bit, some of the things we have been up to, revisit the in-service fall semester. We talked about redesigning community colleges, and then we'll look ahead to spring semester. So I'd like to start out with some successes, and we have on the screen a number of grants that we received fall semester. And if you total these up, and there's some that are not on here that I'll add in just a moment, it's over a couple $1 million. Now, these dollars are over a couple year period, but what it really represents is the dedication and hard work of many, many people to make this happen. One of the things, as you know, when resources get tight, we don't have many options, but we have a lot of folks that are really working very hard to put together grants, to make the connections in the community and business that we need to support what we want to do and move forward. And what's exciting is if we look, and we'll talk about the strategic plan in a few minutes, these grants really tie to many of the initiatives in the strategic plan. So starting with the TRIO grant, farm business management, we got some state resources that we were able to apply for. Ruffled grouse project, very interesting. 75,000 of this is coming from LCCMR dollars. The bulk of it is coming from the Ruffled Grouse Society. And these dollars will go to fund internships for students, so it's really student directed. The Great Lakes Dash grant will give us emergency funds for students, and this I think can grow up to 50,000. We recently received some dollars for a transportation camp for the summer. Initiative Foundation continues to support us in many, many ways. We have some additional dollars to do some things with the AIM grant and with the Business Center. Dental Dental, there we go. 90,000 over 2 years. Leanne Sheenley, who retired a few years ago, you wouldn't know it. And Julie and others worked very hard. Pam Thompson, Mary Sam, and getting this grant. And it's really aimed at attracting minority students to the dental profession. So we're really pleased with that grant. Indoor food production, University of Minnesota partnership, 6,800. We had the aquaponics and the aquaponics and hydroponics, there we go, workshop here before Christmas. So we really appreciate the good work there. Five Wings Arts Council with the Verses Like Water. And then we were very successful with the leverage dollars for equipment. Not every college spent their dollars, and so there was a reallocation. There was another $100,000 available. And because of the work that we do within our programs, working with our external supporters and that type of thing, we were able to take advantage of that $100,000. So that's not on here. I also asked Patrick Spradlin, who I know with the Cultural Arts Series has been doing a lot of good work, and he gave me a figure of about $36,000 this morning that's been raised for the Cultural Arts Series. So when you add all this up, it's over a couple $1 million. So I think that deserves a round of applause for the good work that's been going on. A couple other things I'd like to draw our attention to. OSHA, the last couple of years, we've been focused on what we can do to make sure that we're in compliance. Some of our sibling MnSCU institutions were fined. We had a visit by OSHA. They found some things. They were at St. Cloud Tech and came up that afternoon before the president of St. Cloud Tech could give us the alert that they were coming. So we've gotten very focused on what we can do to across the campuses to make sure that we're in compliance. Ajit has done a wonderful job, and it's not just Ajit, he's got a team working with him, but he's certainly taken the leadership. And we had a debriefing before Christmas, and if we would have, we're probably the first MnSCU institution where we had all of our facilities walked through by OSHA and getting things into compliance. If OSHA would have walked in and found the things that we found with their help, that the fines could have been $200,000 on the low side, or median, I guess that would be a median amount, to as high as $500,000. So you know how we've been struggling with the budget. If we had to find $500,000 to pay OSHA a fine, that would have been catastrophic. So obviously this is something we need to continue to monitor and work on. And we are a part of a program that in a couple of years will be able to have on-site visits and then make the adjustments. So it's very important that we stay vigilant and continue to support Ajit and others in this work. Campus Beautification Committee in Brainerd, students, faculty, and staff. If you notice in the commons area up in front, some new chairs, some new furniture, some new things, new look. A lot of work, a lot of effort has gone into that. Starting with some data from students from last spring. So really a lot of the suggestions that we're implementing are student driven. So I'd like to give a round of applause to all these folks for this good work. And then we've struggled with communication within the college, and we still have a lot of work to do obviously with that. But when you look at the list of things that we're doing now that we weren't doing a year or two ago, there's a lot of good stuff happening, and we're getting the word out internally but also externally. We're getting into a lot of publications. We're getting into the newspapers. Jesse coming on board has certainly facilitated that. We're making connections through social media and many other avenues. Student Life newsletter, Eric brought that back. CLC in the news, Jesse, that comes out about every day with things going on. I get comments in the region all the time about, gee, this is great, what's happening at the college, and people are paying attention, so it's really making a difference. CLC TV, Martha started a newsletter, the Dean's List, and I think that's a good deal. West Bank Journal is brought back on down the line. And the last one is Student Services Technology Enhancements. This is something that was started this fall, excuse me, with our college and the schools partnerships, schools, counselors, faculty, and the like. So a very good connection with our external partners that way. So let's give a round of applause to those folks that have made this happen. And then finally, some pictures on the Staples campus renovation. Jim McCardle put out another email yesterday with another series of photographs. The place is really changing in Staples, and you can see this is not the finished product yet. We thought about having the in-service over there, but things are still in motion in terms of completion, so we'll try to get some activity, open house, and hopefully encourage people later this spring to come over and take a look at what's going on. But a lot of work on the part of the faculty and staff. The students have had to maneuver around. Sometimes it was a maze getting from one side of the building to the other. So folks have really put up with a lot of frustration in some cases, but just disruption. And it's coming together, and it's really going to enhance what we're doing over there. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, when people walk in, you're going to have a whole different feel about what's the Staples campus in Central Lakes is all about in that area. So a lot of good work. I think another round of applause is due. Fall semester, we started talking about redesigning America's community colleges, which includes us. It's kind of a theme that's carried on for the last couple years. The year before, we talked about pathways. We emphasized pathways again fall semester. The book that I've been referring to, just lost the title, or the author rather, but a good work. I think we had 50-some copies that are circulating within the college here. We had a group that got together and read the book, read chapters, and really looked at what the authors are suggesting. And if you're looking at reading anything about community colleges, it's pretty much, I think where everybody is focused in terms of how we can better serve students. So it really is a good starting point as we make some changes here. And I hope that as we move forward here this semester, we'll continue to refer to that work and incorporate some of the ideas that are included. But the guided pathways are extremely important. Community colleges have been about access, but now we need to really focus on success. And we need to be more intentional as we move forward with what we're doing here serving students. Rethinking instruction, we've been talking about OER and some of the things, initiatives we'll mention a little bit later. Helping underprepared students. We know that we have a high percentage of our students that are first generation coming from lower economic strata and that type of thing. We really need to focus on meeting their needs. And some of the work that we've started the last couple of years in conversations with Jody Farr and others is helping us to understand our students better, but we've got a long ways to go. And then engaging faculty, staff, and students in different ways. Getting rid of the silos, really working together to make things happen. And so I think we're starting to move in that direction here at the college. There are a lot of cultural changes, of course, that go along with this. Student focused, for years, colleges and universities have said we're student focused, but really, are we truly focused on student needs? And starting with the student in mind rather than how we've done things perhaps in the past. Diversity is very important, of course. Data-driven quality, taking data and using it to make changes and make changes that have a basis for what you're doing. Transparency. Affordability, not much we could do when the legislature establishes the tuition for us, but there are some other things that we can do as we're learning OER, for example. Better pathways so students aren't taking credits that they don't need and that type of thing. Collaboration, extremely important. We saw the examples of that earlier. And then being action-oriented. Educators, we like to focus on process, we like to focus on having a lot of meetings, but at the end of the day, it's really what we get accomplished. And so we really need to move the needle, if you will, and really focus on outcomes and how we can best get there. Fall semester, we started with 4 priorities. We had the program analysis and prioritization that really I know caused quite a bit of concern. I think as the year moved forward, or the semester moved forward, we're seeing that there's some tangible outcomes and good benefits coming from really taking a look at our curriculum. We've got several things that Dave will share tomorrow about what is taking place. And again, this is not just one event in time, but it will continue. The program reviews are very, very important and doing things in a systematic way. Website enhancement, we're making some excellent progress there. Interesting, we've had some struggles in terms of we've been getting feedback that as counselors in high schools want to take a look at our courses and our programs, our site has not been user-friendly. We've had some excellent discussions with M-State, who has been touted by some of our high school folks as having their act together in terms of their website. They're very willing to work with us, and we've been moving that forward, Scott Street and others, and we'll be seeing some major changes there shortly. Strengthening CIS and bridges, very important. We've been having a lot of meetings working with our high school partners. One of the concerns, of course, is the credentialing for the high school faculty. We've met with most of the college or high schools that are working with us, administrators, faculty, school board members in some cases, to really focus on what we can do. And it's interesting, the first couple meetings we had, there was a lot of, well, how come we have to do this, that type of thing. The last meetings we had was about 10 or 15 minutes of, okay, now let's move on and let's figure out how we can make this happen. And some very creative things are being discussed in terms of how we can work with our high school partners, and not only just to help the faculty to get their credentials, but also how we can be creative in terms of providing connections and using faculty in different ways and that type of thing, and connecting in different ways. So some great things happening. And then the open education resources is moving forward. Martha will be talking about that tomorrow. What I'd like you to have your handout, I'd like you just to take a quick look. A lot of what we've been talking about fall semester and what we'll be talking about the remainder of the in-service really ties directly back to the strategic plan, the academic plan, the enrollment plan, and the technology plan. We spent quite a bit of time last year updating the strategic plan. Heidela worked with the academic folks, faculty and staff, to put together an academic plan that was finalized this fall. We have an enrollment plan and then a technology plan to really move us forward. You'll notice, and we'll be talking about in just a couple minutes, you have HLC with some numbers and letters behind it. You have CF, which is charting the future. So what we're doing is linked to what we need to be doing for meeting our accreditation criteria, but also with the charting of the future, which is a system initiative. If you notice, if you want to turn to the next page, the middle page that talks about institutional effectiveness, these are key performance indicators. We have the system indicators on the first page. This is the MINSCU accountability dashboard. I get evaluated on this every year, and the institution indirectly gets evaluated because of the dashboard. This is going to become more and more important as time moves on, and we have to be very intentional at the college here to link the data that's being generated on these dashboards to our goals and to the strategic plans that we have. On the back side of that page, there are other measures that we also need to be aware of. There's some national benchmarking. The IPEDS is data that we submit to the feds every year. The MINSCU instructional cost study, we just received that. I know the deans will be working with programs, or already have started, to make sure that we're in the band, if you will, so that our programs are sustaining themselves. We did a culture and climate data survey in the last couple of years that we need to focus on a little bit spring semester. Assessment, you'll be hearing more about later today. Program review, we started doing this with the prioritization process, and extremely important to take an in-depth look at programs on a rotating basis, plus doing the yearly checkup, which we started this year. Center for the CESI data, we do this every couple of years. Unfortunately, we've used a little bit of the data. We haven't really dug into the data like we should. We're doing another CESI survey this spring, and this is part of the MINSCU system requirement. Sense is another survey that's done at the beginning of the year for incoming freshmen. Then the NACEP certification for concurrent, and then program accreditation and certifications. And we have a number of programs that have those. So those are all ways that we can gauge our effectiveness here at the college program, at the program level, but also at the college level. And we need to really increase our involvement and be intentional about institutional effectiveness. Charting of the future, I'm going to talk about a couple things here that relate directly to goals for spring semester. Charting of the future is moving forward. There are goals that are outcomes that are being looked at the system level, and then there are also campus level outcomes as well. I didn't include this in your handouts. You'll have been getting some information. Those that are highlighted in yellow are outcomes that we need to be focused on this year at the campus level. So there's a focus on advising. You'll notice 1.1.2 is talking about advising and looking for best practices and doing assessment of our advising here at Central Lakes. Deploying online resources is another initiative that we'll be having to take a look at. And basically, this is going to be completing an evaluation of our existing resources as far as our online options are concerned, which includes not only online courses, but also the student services side. Then ensure all students have access to technology. We'll be conducting a campus level assessment, which includes a student survey to determine where we are with that. And then to develop a campus diversity plan, which needs to be completed spring semester. And you'll notice this is under strategic direction 1 for the system, which is to ensure access to an extraordinary education for all Minnesotans. Establishing clear pathways is a system-wide initiative, and they're starting with 4 pathways. And we have 3 individuals from Central Lakes who are involved with the four pathway task forces. Martha Keene is working with psychology, Beth Mayer with biology, and Deb Norland with business. And the 4th one is theater. So there are 20-some pathways, I think, that the system is going to be looking at, and so they're taking a number each year and we'll move that forward. So hopefully that will take care of transfer issues. We've been dealing with that for 20-some years now in MnSCU, so maybe this is going to be the answer. And there is some good work coming from that, so I don't mean to make light of it. Charting of the future strategic direction 2 for the system, be a partner of choice for meeting Minnesota workforce and community needs. And there's some pilots going on with certification and credit for prior learning. We decided not to be a part of one of the pilots, or a pilot, but there's work that will go on in other institutions that will benefit from. And then strategic direction 3 for the system is deliver to students, employers, and communities and taxpayers the highest value and most affordable option. And so affordability for all students is something that we need to take a look at. Financial literacy is, we've been doing this for a year or 2. We have a committee that's been working on default rates, and so we really are ahead of the game on this particular one. And so we'll be we have to report quarterly to the system and the progress we're making. So we have one that we're moving forward. We do have a pilot group that's come together to help move this forward. So Mary Sam, Patrick Spradlin, Jill Elby, Charles Blacklance, Nicole, and Phil Olson are part of that steering committee, and so we'll be working with our various committees. We'll have to create some committees, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So we've got some work to do with charting of the future. We also, in the handout that you have in front of you, I'd like to direct you for just a minute to the next to the last page. This is the Higher Learning Commission criteria that we're accredited by. And there are 5 criteria, and each of the criteria have core components. Now, in the new pathways model for accreditation, and we were under the old system when we were evaluated 3 years ago, you have to meet all the core components for each criteria in order for the criteria to pass muster, if you will. So I'm a consultant evaluator. I'm also in the IAC committee that basically, when all the reports come in, the committee takes a look at them, looks at them, and either approves the recommendation coming in from the team that's made the college or university visit, or it gets referred on to the board for further action, which is usually in the terms is usually sanctions. So I looked at our 5 criteria, and I looked at where I think we are at as an institution. Criterion 1, mission, I think we meet with no problem. Criterion 2, ethical and responsible conduct. There are 5 core components. Core component 2B, the institution presents itself clearly and completely to students, public, regarding programs, faculty, and staff, and so forth. We're working on this through the program prioritization process because we had several certificates, diplomas that we were no longer offering that were being advertised. Students were coming in with the expectation they could enroll in those programs. We had courses that hadn't been delivered for a long time, and so we're cleaning up the inventory, if you will, and that really would take care of, I think, criterion 2, the concern that might be there if a visiting team came in today. Criterion 3, teaching and learning, quality resources and support. I think we probably need to go back and revisit general education in terms of how it's put together and constructed here. That's a project kind of aligned with program review. I know Martha has had some conversation and is looking at this. And then the institution has faculty and staff needed for effective high-quality programs and student services. The budget cuts, the changes we've made, we're staffed pretty thinly, and we're not able to do some of the things that we should be doing. So that is a concern, somewhat out of our hands, but certainly it would be noticed by a visiting team. Criterion 4 and 5 on the back page. In my estimation, if we were evaluated today, we probably we would not meet these criteria. Criteria 4 has to do with teaching and learning. The concerns here would be regular program reviews, which we haven't been doing. We don't have really credit for prior learning and experiential learning processes in place. We have assessment falls into this area in 4B. We have made a lot of great progress in the last couple of years with assessment, but we still have quite a ways to go with that, and so we need to pay attention to that as an institution. And then retention, persistent completion rates. Setting goals and then doing the analysis to determine why you didn't meet the goals. We need to work on that. That's not being met. And interesting, in the last year, I've been on a couple of committees where this particular criterion, a couple of colleges were put on probation because they weren't meeting the things I just outlined for us. Criterion 5, resources, planning, institutional effectiveness. The last 2 items really talk about process of institutional effectiveness. We collect the data, but we're not really doing anything with the data in a systematic way, and so that's something that really needs to be looked at. So my successor, I will be sharing this information with the new president, and it's something that we need to be working on starting now, of course, but it needs to continue. So that's wrapped into the priorities we're looking at for spring, and I know 7 is like, whoa, kind of puts you back. Enrollment and retention, we've been doing some good work with that. We have hired a consultant. You'll hear more about that tomorrow in terms of some of his analysis. Program prioritization needs to continue. Dave will be talking about that tomorrow. The OER initiative, we're moving that forward. We've applied for another grant to extend and further the work that we're doing there. Develop a course evaluation process. We talked about this fall semester. We ran into a problem when we tried to do something with the online student surveys, so we need to get a process in place early fall or spring semester so that we can roll that out this spring. And again, that's one of the areas on the list of expectations from the Higher Learning Commission we're not meeting. Charting of the future college goals, we talked about those. Assessment, that's kind of an ongoing process. And then the Brainerd Campus Student Services Bonding Project. We need to pull that together for spring to get it into the system for scoring so we can get dollars down the road a few years to redo the student services area on the Brainerd campus. And of course, that means we need to take a look at how we get some of this work done. So we need to take a look at some task forces, committees that can help with some of this work. Technology Advisory Committee and the Campus Academic Technology Committee. The first one is coming out of the review we had last fall with system office folks coming in and taking a look at our technology here at Central Lakes. They recommended the advisory committee. As part of Charting of the Future, the CAT committee, the CAT committee is a requirement. Marketing Advisory Committee, we want to have, Ken will talk more about this tomorrow, but we need some advice from the college community. We're going to change marketing direction. And so we need to have some input there. Website Advisory Committee, another kind of small committee, but to give good direction to the website as we continue to refine that. The Course Evaluation Task Force Committee. The Bonding Committee is pretty much in place, and they've started work or will start work shortly. And then the advising work group that comes out of the Charting of the Future. We'll have to think through how we structure that. The last thing I want to, so we've got plenty of things to keep us busy. Obviously, it's going to take all of us working together. So not one person has all the responsibility, but we need to be mindful of the things that we need to move forward. You have the separate sheet, the organizational chart for the college. We've made some changes in terms of program alignment with Chris Hatfield's departure and with Jane Burkholz coming on board. You'll meet her tomorrow with Student Services. Dave Heidela, who's been interim vice president, I had the ability as president to appoint him full-time, and I did that. So I wanted to announce that today. We need the continuity as we move forward, and Dave has been here for a year and a half now and has been leading many initiatives. He was vetted through the process for the liberal arts dean, if you recall, a couple of years ago, and so I feel that this is in the best interest of the institution to make that a permanent position. Otherwise, it ends June 30th, and so the new president coming in has a couple of interim positions. Becca Kent has moved into the career and technical areas as dean, has really hit the ground running, and I really appreciate the good work that she's doing. Martha continues to move things forward in the liberal arts area and addressing a number of issues that we've not addressed in a long time. So I really appreciate her work and the work really of the administrative team, Mary Sam and Kari and Nancy and everyone. We've got a good group of administrators, and I really appreciate their work. The color coding, you'll notice on the bottom, has to do with who's on the cabinet and who's on the various other committees and that type of thing. So just to give everyone kind of an update on where we're at. Obviously, these are kind of always in motion, and new president coming in will have the ability to make some changes as well. So let's really look forward to a good semester. We've got some things we need to focus on, but there's so many good things happening all the time that share the successes with each other. When you see somebody in the hall that you've just read about, when you read about CLC in the news, take a moment just to thank them, congratulate them. You know, it's, I think that builds community, it builds camaraderie, and really we all like a pat on the back once in a while. So let's make an effort to do that. So finally, we'll move into spring semester. And I'm just going to sit down in the foyer here when I'm on the Brainerd campus and just kind of watch what's going on and kind of get prepared. It should be a rocking chair, but those are really comfortable chairs. So I'll just wait for the new president to come in the door and move forward. So let's have a good semester. Thank you. Nancy will come up for some quick introductions and an update on the search.
Well, welcome back. And again, I think we're off to a great start for spring semester. As I do, I'm going to introduce our new employees who have been hired since our August in-service days. And Larry has mentioned a couple. I'll just reiterate. Jane Burkholtz will join us tomorrow as the Dean of Student Success. Paul Preemsberger, and if you're here, would you please stand? Paul Preemsberger is replacing Betsy Pisciano as our new Director of Secondary Relations. Betsy's going to be on sabbatical spring semester and will be returning this fall as our reading instructor. Julie Burzek, hired as a college lab assistant in graphic arts. Is Julie here? George Marsolek. Welcome, Julie. George Marsolek, theater technician, and I'm not sure if he's in the audience or maybe in the back there, but welcome, George. Mike Roloff, general maintenance worker at the Staples campus, has been hired. Katrina Tretter, Office and Administrative Specialist Intermediate for the SBDC. Welcome, Katrina. Barb Vilwalk, Office and Administrative Specialist Intermediate for the Rita Grant. Welcome, Barb. Ron DeVergstein, State Program Administrator Senior for our FBM and Staples Ag Center programming. John Hammerlink has been hired as our Rita Grant Manager, and John has been with us since September. And then Sally Patron Espana as our AME Grant Assistant Director. And is Sally here? All right, I'm just going to note some additional changes in personnel, and I'll be sending out an email kind of summarizing all of our changes following our sessions today. Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs, no longer interim status, so welcome aboard, Dave. Nice to have you join us on a permanent basis. Rebecca Kent, as Larry announced, has been appointed as the interim dean of CTE and Staples campus, replacing Chris Hadfield. Becca, nice to see you. And then there's been a change in some job responsibilities that I'll announce very quickly. Phil Olson is our new accounting technician, replacing Laura Paulson, who left us or resigned this past fall semester. Jeff Roxburgh is new to the Brainerd campus. He's moved from the Staples campus to accept our Brainerd GMW position. So welcome to our campus, Jeff. Bianca Weifels has moved back to the Staples campus. She had been in our Brainerd bookstore for a number of years and has assumed a part-time position over in Staples, so she'll be back in the business office. Steve Verden has moved from part-time to a full-time seasonal position in our welding program. So again, welcome aboard all of you new employees, and congratulations on your job changes for the others. And then I've been asked just to do a quick update on our presidential search. We're off to a great start with the search process, and the community here is very well represented on the search committee. We have 14 members of our search advisory committee, made up of 3 administrators, Mary Sam, Kari Christensen, and myself. Laura Urban is the president of the Alexandria Tech. She is serving as our chair. We have 2 faculty members, Steve Wenzel, John Molesky. MMA representative is Charles Blacklance. MAPE representative is Eric Hepner. AFSCME representative is Myron Stevens. We have 2 student reps, Monty Pintock on the Brainerd campus and Natalie Behrens from Staples. And again, it's been an exciting start to this process. We began this fall with some listening sessions on our 2 campuses with Chancellor Rosenstone. We've had 3 meetings of our Search Advisory Committee, first being an orientation, and then 2 screening sessions where we have screened over 50 applications. We have selected 10 that are going to be interviewed the end of January. So we're all going to head down to the Airport Hilton in Minneapolis, and we'll be interviewing January 26th and 27th. We're hoping then to forward 4 to 5 candidates to our chancellor, and they'll begin that vetting process. They will be announcing our successful candidates at the March board meeting. And the dates I would like you to put on your calendar right now would be the February dates for our campus visits. So once again, we make our recommendations from those airport interviews. We will be bringing those candidates, the successful candidates, to our campus. And that will occur on February 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And we will be having a series of open forums on both campuses, probably split out much like the listening sessions were. I did forget to mention we have 3 community members as well on our Search Advisory Committee. And that would be Cheryl Lee Hills from Region 5. We have Steve Jones, Superintendent in the Little Falls School District, and Barb Anderson, who is our Foundation President. So that's a big miss on my part. But this hard work that we will be doing over spring semester will culminate in a reception for our new president sometime later this spring. So check out the website. I will be putting up updated information on that website. And please, please, please come to the open forums and provide your feedback. And with that, I'm not sure who's up next. Mary, come on up.
No, this is just really brief. Is Dave Davis in the audience? Yeah, I'm going to be just a second here, Dave, so if you want to come up and sit up. Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome back. Just a quick reminder regarding our sexual violence policy. I mentioned in August that all of us will be required to go through a D2L training, both all the employees and students. That D2L training is now on your D2L site. We are asking that everybody, all employees, participate in that D2L training by March 1st. We would like to have everybody trained in that, so we've got some common language, common expectations, and common values around how we address and understand sexual harassment and sexual violence on our campus. The Sexual Violence Committee will be starting in January, February, where we were going to be writing some of our campus policies, and then also take a look at implementing the D2L required training for all of our students. All of that has to be implemented by fall. That is federal law, that's MNSCU policy. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. The other reminder that I'd like to make is, we need to really take sexual violence seriously. You've heard me say that last spring, you heard me say that in August, and you're going to continue to hear me say that at the microphone here and via emails as well. We've had a couple of situations this fall with sexual harassment in and out of the classrooms where sometimes we think we can handle things ourselves, or maybe we think that something's relatively minor, and maybe we just decide to look away or we decide to handle it ourselves. Please do not do that. Please do not do that. You need to let me know. Excuse me, you need to let Nancy Paulson know. Please don't keep that information to yourself. When we take a look at the statute of limitations and a student comes back a year from now, 2 years from now and says, somebody knew, and the campus did nothing, we are liable. Okay? We have to investigate every situation that comes forward in terms of an allegation of sexual harassment and an allegation of sexual violence. Please don't keep that to yourself. please contact me. I've had a number of phone calls this fall already in terms of, Mary, what do I do? That's what I'm here for. Let's talk about it. Let's work through that. Let's figure out what we need to do next. I will support you in that. I'll help you figure out some strategies in terms of how to work with that student, but I'll also let you know what we need to do in terms of moving forward with an investigation if we have to go that route as well. Also on March 1st, we're going to have a program called the Sex and Drug Show. Sounds kind of fun, right? And high impact training is coming in. That's a Tuesday. And, I wish it was a Monday or a Wednesday when we have more students on campus, but, we're a little bit cramped for space and being able to have access to the gymnasium. So we're bringing in high impact training. The American Association of University Women is helping sponsor that activity to support our Title IX efforts to address sexual violence and sexual harassment on college campuses. It's also an opportunity to stay in compliance with our drug and alcohol policy and federal law regarding informing students about drug and alcohol abuse. We have heard that this program is quite challenging, quite powerful, and a great program for college students. So you'll get more information on that. I know it's in the middle of a Tuesday, only on the Brainerd campus. The Drug and Alcohol Committee, with representation from Staples campus, said we'll just figure out a way to get Staples campus students over to Brainerd that day because it's an hour and a half long presentation. We'll kind of roll that out and more information to follow. Mark? March 1st, 12 o'clock here in the Brainerd gym. But it's going to be quite a powerful presentation. I know that some of the bigger private universities bring in the high impact training, the sex and drug show, as a required part of student orientation. We don't have a required student orientation yet. And, I think we're going to probably have to have some discussions about that because there's some compliance issues that we need to be training students on, and we need to find a vehicle to get there. So that's my part. I'm going to turn it over to Dave Davis to talk about thinking about the unthinkable. Kind of like sexual violence, we also have to have conversations about campus safety and violence and what do we do if there's an intruder on campus. So thank you.
I think I can figure it out, maybe, hopefully. Excellent. Yeah, I can log into this. Should be. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for coming here today. I do feel honored. I feel privileged actually to be assigned to come up here and to talk to you all about this matter. Some of you may know that I am an alumni here at the Central Lakes College. I did receive my 2-year degree here and then moved forward with moving forward my career and with my education. A little background about myself. I have worked in law enforcement for over 22 years. I have worked in the patrol division for over 15 years, as well as a former tactical team member, SWAT team member. I am a veteran of the military. I've been in the military. I was in the military for about 22 years. Retired military. Thank you. Thank you. Folks, I make no claim here that I know everything about this subject matter. The information I am about to present to you is based off the latest guidance from the FBI, Secret Service, and Homeland Security. I will say that today's presentation is going to be somewhat murky, somewhat unpleasant, things that we really don't necessarily like to talk about, but I truly believe it's something that we really do need to talk about. I will say this, the presentation may be somewhat lengthy. Been here, sorry. The administration has allotted me an hour's time after today's information, right around 3 o'clock. I'm in C233, so I may not be able to answer a lot of questions after my presentation today, but I will be there at 3 o'clock, so if there's anything you want to talk about or discuss or question, hey, I'm there for you. I'm all willing to answer as many questions as I possibly can. So again, welcome. In today's society, we must prepare ourselves and our students to take action if and when a very dangerous situation arises. There's some key takeaways here today that I want you guys to to focus on. The first one is that situational awareness. We need to be aware of our surroundings. We need to be aware of what's going on in and around us at all times, not just even here at the college, but on our personal lives as well. We need to be watching what's going on. In the military and in law enforcement, they talk about situational awareness and being aware of what's going on. They're not talking about we have to be afraid all the time, we have to be hyper vigilant all the time. We just need to be aware of what's happening in and around us. Yes? Yes, sir. A lot of the information, a lot of the training and so forth that it does come down from the MnSCU office, and I'm going to kind of touch on that here in just a minute. As you go through, you got the programs in front of you here as well. What you're going to find is that we're giving you alternatives, things that you can do during this event. I would be remiss to be up here to say, do this each and every time, because it's not going to be possible. Are you referring to an armed security guard? Or are you referring to an armed teacher? Well, and again, MnSCU policy stipulates that information. I would refer you to the MnSCU policy. Again, the other thing I'd like to talk about is, again, having a plan. Plan for the event, have something in mind. All right, and that's the information I'm going to try to provide to you here today. Have something in mind. All right, if this event occurs, have a plan. The other thing is to have a survival mindset. Again, we have to prepare our minds, we have to prepare our bodies for action. All right? The purpose of today's presentation, again, is to enlighten the community college, as to what a violent intruder is. What choices do you have as an individual? What choices we have as a college community during a violent intruder incident? And what is the response of law enforcement, and what are their expectations of us? And again, to answer some of your questions here, again, due to recent and ongoing events throughout the country and the world, the MnSCU office has directed colleges and universities to start mandatory training and preparations for such an event. Other things that we're going to talk about for topics of discussion is common characteristics, prevention. We're going to be talking about a run, hide, fight response, we're going to be talking about sheltering in place, fully committed to a defense, and then we're going to be talking about police response. Now, folks, I make no guarantees. Again, as I mentioned before when I first started this presentation, I do make no guarantees that what information we're about to give you is going to work each and every time. There is no way that we can make that type of guarantee. Understand that each and every event that has occurred within the United States and abroad has been unique. It has not necessarily been the same way each and every time. You hear in the news, you may have heard in the news oftentimes when we have these types of events occur, that it's a copycat. It's a copycat. And that's not true. That's media sensation. It has not been a copycat. They've done certain things differently each and every time. So to say that there is a guarantee, again, each situation is unique. We cannot predict, nor can we train for each conceivable event. It's impossible to do that. Again, the applications of the tactics we are going to discuss must be determined by you at the time of the incident as the situation is unfolding. Again, I say no one tactic will always be the correct choice, nor guaranteed success. But again, it is derived, the information is derived from experience and past, and believe best practices. Again, the following tactics are meant to provide you with choices for surviving a deadly situation. Now, I found this on the internet. As I was doing my research for this presentation, I found this on the internet, this quote from a mother from Sandy Hook. We cannot control the situations which come to us in life. We can only choose how to respond to them, which I think holds a pretty important impact. Again, to reiterate, my goal here today is to give you options if ever there was a situation you find yourself in that you have to make a decision as to how to respond to them. So I ask you the question, what do we have in common with every survivor of an active shooter? What do we have in common? The will to stay alive. What I say is that we believe that it's not going to happen here. It's not going to happen here. It's impossible. We're a small town. We're a small community. That only happens there, not here. And again, it's a fallacy. A video that I'm about to show you guys here in just a little bit, it's Shots Fired. The title of the movie, or the video, is Shots Fired When Lightning Strikes. Now think about that. When lightning strikes, what's the odds of lightning striking? And in the video, they talk about that lightning striking the odds are very, very limited. But I will say that lightning does strike, and it does strike wherever it wants to. So it can strike, and it can strike here. So an active shooter defined. What is an active shooter? Well, the National Tactical Officers Association has defined an active shooter as that of one or more subjects who participate in a random or systematic shooting spree, demonstrating their intent to continuously harm others. Their overriding objective appears to be that of mass murder, rather than that of any other criminal activity such as robbery, kidnapping, or etc. The definition also includes any assault with a deadly weapon, not necessarily a firearm, just a firearm, but also any deadly weapon to cause mass homicide. Now, as I mentioned, active shooter is not like any other criminal. Their goal is not to rob or kidnap you. Their goal is to kill as many people as they possibly can. That's their goal. Oftentimes, they are suicidal. As I was doing this research, I came across another incident, an incident that actually occurred in Reno, Nevada. The situation was a young boy, a 12-year-old boy, entered his school with a firearm and began shooting. An instructor, or a teacher rather, approached this young man as he was shooting and attempted to stop him. to talk him down. Now, what happened next is unthinkable. But this 12-year-old little boy raised the firearm and shot the instructor, or shot the teacher. So for us to think that we would be able to get in front of somebody and actually get that person to stop shooting, to rationalize with that person, to talk that person down, folks, they've already set into their plan, there is no talking that person down. The other thing is law enforcement's response. Most of these incidents are over in less than 30 minutes. Columbine was 28 minutes in 1999. That lasted for 28 minutes. Virginia Tech, and again, if you've done any research on this stuff, Virginia Tech started in a residential hall, then moved to a lecture hall. And that took 2.5 hours. So I say that to say this: we have to formulate a plan. Within that time frame, we have to be able to formulate a plan ahead of time and then be able to survive long enough for law enforcement to get us. From the time of the incident to the time of the arrival, it would be approximately, and this is how I would suspect how this incident would go. From the time of the incident occurring to the time law enforcement arrives, we're talking about 3 to 4 minutes here in Brainerd. Staples, possibly longer, possibly shorter, depending on where the closest officer would be. In that time frame, folks, we have to survive long enough for law enforcement to get here to do their job. One thing I did find interesting, again, as I went through this, that 62% of all active shooters were actually stopped by civilians. Again, as I mentioned, active shooters are situations that are unpredictable. There is no predictable profile of an active shooter. Because you think about this, the FBI actually has criminalist profilers, forensic profilers, that they're actually able to go out, say like a bank robbery or something to that effect. They have profilers that can actually go out and speak to these people and sit down with them, talk over things with them, and they're actually able to develop a profile, a psychological profile of what an active shooter is, or excuse me, as what a robber is. The thing of it is with these types of situations, oftentimes the individual takes their own life, so thereby it's virtually impossible for the FBI to find out what an active shooter is or what he's thinking at that time. Again, there is no set pattern to an active shooter. We have to understand that with an active shooter, they're frustrated about something. They're angry about something. We do know that. But their anger is towards that institution or that employment that they're in. The people that's inside the building is secondary. Their anger is towards the institution or against the business. So they're not necessarily going after one particular individual. They're going after to cause issue. Again, because an active shooter events are often over in less than 30 minutes, individuals must prepare themselves both mentally and physically to deal with an active shooter. All right, and again, just another definition of this is an attack defined. As Webster has put it out, it's a military offensive against an enemy or an enemy's position. It's to try to hurt or do harm or destroy. It's to set upon a force, violence, hostile or aggressive manner. And the definition for us is, should an individual set upon a person or a group of people on this campus in a violent or hostile manner with the intent to cause injury or death, it is an attack. So what is our priorities? What is CLC's priorities? Well, our first priority is this, is to protect the lives of the students, staff, faculty, and the visitors by implementing an emergency response plan. All right. One of the things that we're incorporating in our response plan is that when we've done these drills over the past few years, we've invited law enforcement to come in to assist us with this and give feedback as to what's going on. One of the things that they have provided feedback with was the effect of, we got too many accesses. We have too many doors to try to control should an individual get in here. So with that feedback, myself, Jim McCardle, Ajit, and some of the administrators have actually sat down and started to discuss this. And what has occurred is Jim McCardle has developed a plan of accessing doors. Now, this plan is in the process of being implemented. It is not necessarily implemented at this point, but it sounds like Jim's going to be sending out some emails, some information is going to be getting sent out to the college community, letting you guys know what we're going to be doing as far as restricting access into the building, both here on the Brainerd and on the Staples campuses. Our next priority is, again, to activate the college emergency communications plan. That is, again, through the alarm systems that we have here on the campus, as well as the Star Alert system that we also have. This next priority would end up being activating the emergency operations team. Obviously, this would be something that we would be doing post-event, getting the EOT together, starting to the continuity of operations plan. And then afterwards, it's going to be to provide all post support as the event may dictate. So what is our odds? The question I pose is, why should we train to this? Why do we need to train? What's the purpose of all this? Like I said, lightning strikes. Lightning strikes. It doesn't strike here though, right? So why should we have to train for this? Well, because it might strike here, exactly. Because it might strike here. Well, this is one of the things that they put up. The FBI has put out these statistics. The things that I'd like to pay attention to is our work. Where do we work? 31% of all active shooters were through K through 12 over the past 20 years, I believe, is what this has gone through. 10% has been within universities and college campuses. So if we do the math on that, on all educational campuses, educational facilities, it's been 41% of all shootings have occurred on college or on educational campuses. They talk about 7% through offices, churches. And again, it's not just a specific belief that's been struck. It's been the Muslim community. It's been the Christian communities. Jewish communities. They've all been attacked. The one thing I wanted to bring up, what I thought was kind of interesting, 1% at bars. So are we safer going out and having a beer than we are going to work? I don't know what's this trying to tell us. This was the statistic that the FBI brought forth when they, over the past, like I said, I believe it was over the past 20 years, of all shootings that has occurred, mass shootings that has occurred within the United States and abroad, I believe, that this is the numbers that came down. I didn't make the statistics, I just put them down there. It does. Again, they've gone into, the FBI has come out with 5 phases of an active shooter. If we look back to the past school shootings, all of these shooters fit somewhere in this category. First, they fantasized about doing this. They've obsessed with it. They've gone into the bedrooms and into the homes of these individuals and found drawings. They found things on their computers in reference to all this. So they start to fantasize about it. The next thing they start to do is they start to plan it. They start making plans. If one thing that's taught us about the Columbine shooting is when they started interviewing or investigating this incident, They found some pretty elaborate plans that these young men have made. They start to prepare for it. They go out, they start purchasing guns, they start purchasing the ammunition. Again, Columbine, these young men had built over 100 improvised explosive devices that they had planted all around the school and was detonating them as they were going through the school. They'll start to practice. They'll start to practice this thing. And again, and I refer back to the Columbine incident. If you've ever seen any of the videos or any of the documentation or documentaries of the Columbine incident, these young men were actually going out target shooting with the weapons that they used in Columbine. They actually had video of the young man sawing off the shotgun, the 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun that he had used in the attack on Columbine High School. And then they implement their plan. They begin. So let's start talking about defense. What would be the best defense for this? A gun on campus. Well, I think others have different beliefs, but 75% of all school shootings are known by somebody. 75%, folks, are known by somebody. Somebody is saying something to someone. That's, again, situational awareness, paying attention to what's going on in and around you. We need to create an atmosphere here at school, at our home, with our youth, that it is okay for them to come forward and say something about it. We need to be able to know, our children need to know the difference between youth loyalty, friendship loyalty, and what somebody's about to do is not so great. Again, as I was doing the research towards this, folks, I researched the Red Lake incident. And they had a young girl on that that the newscast was interviewing, and she said, I knew he was going to do this. He said 420. The purpose behind that, what was so significant about 420? It was Hitler's birthday. And that's when he was going to implement the shooting spree. The young girl knew what was going to happen, but again, it was that friendship loyalty that she had to the young man that kept her from saying something. So again, we need to create a culture that our kids are able to know the right from wrong and know when to say something. Again, know what to look out for, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as well. Stay aware of people's behavior. And again, most people who are likely to commit violence will rarely act without some type of signal. And again, we can't be afraid to act. We can't be afraid to act. We have to say something. The one thing I'll do is, as well, what we have here on the Brainerd campus, what we have on our campuses here, is we have a very excellent behavioral intervention team. These folks are very caring. They're concerned about what's going on campus. They're concerned about our students. And there are ways of getting hold of these folks, the crisis intervention team as well as the behavioral intervention team, and say something. If we're seeing some type of activity that's going on in our classroom, say something. If anything is brought forth, the Virginia Tech incident. If you know anything about the Virginia Tech incident, that young man started having issue with school. He was a stellar student. He changed programs, and he started having issue. And an instructor, when I was watching some of this documentary, the instructor was seeing this to the point where the instructor actually said, I can't teach this kid. I can't teach him. He needs to go. So they moved him out. And again, I'm not saying that the instructor should have or could have done something about it, but we've seen the signs, and we have to say something. We have to do something. So what are some of the characteristics of an active shooter? And again, this is something that they've done, they've documented through the years. This is something that they've seen as we progress through this. Is one person is someone who has an axe to grind or is an injustice collector. Has gone to great lengths to plan their attack. Other characteristics is they oftentimes do not have an exit plan. They don't have an exit plan. And again, these are oftentimes the folks that are suicidal. And truly, if we're paying attention, we're going to see these signs. Usually targets are victims in their own age group, such as the work, school, home, church. They are an avenger. They're an avenger. They feel there's an injustice that's been done, and they're going to have revenge. So again, active shooter prevention warning signs. Individuals are argumentative. Uncooperative with supervisors, non-compliant with policies. They have rage reactions. They overreact to a situation, or they're very impulsive. They're always the victim. Now, if some of you have teenagers, we kind of see this. That's always somebody else's fault, right? But truly, they are the victim. They feel that they are the victim. Their increase in accidents makes frequent mistakes. They're manipulative. They exploit others. They're either being bullied or they are bullying. They're either being threatened with violence or they're committing violence. They're withdrawn, depressed, avoids coworkers, other students. There's an increase in drug and alcohol abuse. There's an increase in absenteeism, such as with vague physical complaints. Noticeably decreased in the grooming and personal hygiene. And there's an increase in mood swings, as well as suicidal talks, putting things in order. There's a paranoia. They feel that there's somebody's out to get them. Everybody's against me. There's increase in talks of problems at home. They're bringing domestic problems into their workplace. They're talking about serious financial issues. And there's talks about previous incidents of violence. Now, up to this point, this could be anybody. And a given day, half of these things, it could be any one of us that is having a bad day, that's just having a bad day. But what's consistent with this, or what's important with this information is its consistency. This is something that's occurring all the time with this person. This is happening all the time. And then the final thing that they talk about is expresses empathy for individuals who commit violence. An example would be the Aurora incident, where the young man went into the theater in Aurora and started shooting the place up. Well, this individual starts to say, you know what? He had every right to be upset with that institution. He had every right to do what he did. That's the type of individual we want to start paying attention to, because truly they start to empathize with this violence. They think, that's normal, I'm normal, you're normal, so it's normal. The guy was upset. He did what he should have done. So again, those are different things that we got to pay attention to. All right, so how do we prepare for this? How are we going to prepare ourselves for this? First of all, we need to develop a survival mindset. The time to plan is not now, or is now, not when the situation has arisen. What we need to do is we need to assess our primary work areas and develop a personal emergency action plan. One of the biggest things is, folks, we need to carry our keys around. If we get into a situation to where we have to lock ourselves in a room and we don't have access to that room, we're kind of hanging out there. So carrying our keys around would assist us with getting ourselves into a room if we have to lock down. With that, we need to assess other areas that you visit. So we're talking about assessing where you instruct for the faculty members, your office space. Where else do you go on campus here on a regular basis? We need to start thinking about that area as well. Your plan should include an alternate plan. So if that isn't working, what else can I do? There's a gentleman by the name of, he's a retired lieutenant colonel. His name's David Grossman. He's a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army's Special Warfare and Tactics Division. He is now a renowned speaker on survival mind setting and emotional survival in law enforcement and the military. To quote Lieutenant Colonel Grossman, that in a very high stressful, high evolving situation, folks, we will never, ever, ever rise to the occasion. What we will do is we will fall back to the level of training that we have received and what we've taken seriously. Again, under a severe stressful situation, your ability to cognitively process a situation and then try to formulate a rational strategy is going to be severely compromised in a high stress situation. So we need to answer the following questions. What do I do if I hear gunshots? Who here has actually been hunts or has been sport shooting before? You wore earmuffs? Always wore earmuffs? Always wore hearing protection? Not always? Rarely. Has it always been outside? Have you ever been inside when a gun's been fired? So we've noticed the difference in the sound of that, isn't it? Have you ever gone over to the Mills firing range and fired in the Mills firing range and then fired on an outside range? You're going to notice it reverberates a heck of a lot more inside the Mills firing range, and that has sound barrier, sound absorbing things. It sounds different. So to think that if someone were to fire inside a building, it's not going to sound the same. So what do I do? So we make this plan. So then we need to be able to answer to ourselves, what do I do if that doesn't work? What am I going to do if that doesn't work? And again, this is where we start, and when shots are fired, our first primary thing is, if we're able to do so, is to get the heck out of there. Don't stay. Run. Escaping is always going to be our first option. When shots are fired, your first priority is to go home alive. And again, I did not say save your coworkers. I did not say save your students. I said save yourself. Be unconventional. Be unconventional. Start to think about, could I break out a window? If I'm inside a room, could I break out a window to escape? Now, Darren knows, and I think some of the other folks know about my computer abilities. So I think I'd probably want to pick up a computer and put that thing through the window. So again, what can I use to break out a window? I mean, you got to think about that. If I have to escape, what can I use to break out a window? Things that we need to be thinking about. Consider the option of jumping from the second floor. Think about that. Jumping from the second floor. Now, and again, it's kind of a dark topic and kind of a dark subject here. But here's the thing, folks, and people are going, you're crazy, Dave. You're crazy. Jumping from the second floor? Look, dude, I'm going to break a leg if I do that. Well, what's your option? What is your option? And I say that to say this, is that in Virginia Tech, when that gentleman entered the lecture hall, there were 3 classrooms that were in session at that time. The one session was the instructor says, shots are being fired, get underneath your desks. The second classroom said, shots are being fired, barricade and lock the door. The third classroom says, shots are being fired, get out that window now. And the instructor held the door shut while the students escaped. Out of those 3 classrooms, the one the instructor says, get underneath your desks, the gentleman entered. The one that said, lock and barricade the door, the subject was not able to get into the classroom. The instructor that said, break that window and go out that window, I'll hold the door. Everyone in that classroom, except the instructor, made it out alive. Other things to think about is take a weapon along. What do we have available to us to take with us? I bet everyone in here right now has a weapon on them. The other thing is leave your belongings behind. Again, we don't need to be bringing our purse. We don't need to be bringing our backpacks. We don't need to be bringing that Apple computer with us. That takes time to get out of there. Okay, so maybe not everybody can afford an Apple computer. I don't know. So it's going to take time. It's going to eat up your time. So leave it. You don't need it. Again, when an active shooter is in your area, run. If you decide to flee the building or area, make sure you can do so safely. And this is what I say to this, is that if you're going to think about you're going to leave your office, you're going to leave the area, think about this. If I leave here, can that person see me? If I'm in line of sight, I'm in a bad area. Because if that person can see me, I'm in a bad situation. So if you're going to flee, that's one of the considerations you need to make, is can he see me? Again, have an escape route or a plan in mind. What can you use as you're leaving? What can you utilize as a cover to keep us from either being seen or being shot? What can I use as cover? If my thing is blocked off, where can I go? If it gets blocked off, where can I go? Is your escape route accessible, quick, close, and practical is the other option, things. The other thing is you, again, as I mentioned before, you need to make this decision. You, yourself, need to make this decision. Evacuate whether others agree with you or not. Because do understand, people process at a different rate. People will process this at a different rate. And if your goal is to evacuate, you need to do it. Again, as I mentioned, leave your belongings behind. Again, the rule of thumb is to try to convince others to come with you. However, do not be delayed by others who refuse to react. For me, I would say it once, I'm going. Come with me. Again, help others escape if possible. Prevent others from entering the area. Once you're out, try to keep others from coming in. And in a perfect world, it's within the first 30 seconds of a situation occurring, we're having the alarms go off. We're getting a mass message out to everybody saying, hey, don't come to the college. We've got something going on. In a perfect world. But as we know, and as this explains, this evolves quickly and it's unpredictable. Once you're out and once you're safe, call 911. Don't think that somebody else has done it. Call 911. We need to get the police coming. We need to get law enforcement rolling. The other thing is follow the leader. Now, I say this is to tell you that students are going to be likely looking towards you for guidance because you guys work here. You guys are here every day. We're just students. So they're going to go, what do I do? So they're going to start looking for you for guidance. Now, I'm not asking anyone to be a hero here. I'm just simply directing a student in a direction to lock down is simply all that we're asking. In the Columbine High School, there's an individual, a hero, by the name of Coach Dave Sanders. Dave Sanders actually ran through the school trying to warn people and to get them out of harm's way. Here we have warning systems, and it can be activated. There are several locations throughout our school that we have the ability to activate the warning systems. One thing that Jim, myself, and the facilities folks are working on is it's through UHL. There's a program that we're working on implementing that on any Cisco phone, any office phone, you can dial a number and then a code, and it will activate the warning systems. So again, we got more information. We're still working on that process and getting that process in place, and how that's all going to look and so forth. Once we have that system in place and we have, how this is going to look, we'll get it out to you guys, and we'll start working that plan, okay? Again, faculty and staff must be aware of the students may hesitate to act. Again, waiting on direction from an authority figure. Again, take immediate action. So then we talk about what do I do once I'm out? Where do I go? What do I do? I'm out of the building. I made it out safe. If you do decide to leave, find cover and concealment from the building. Find cover and concealment from the building. The biggest thing, the one thing, if you take anything away from this, the one thing, if you exit the building, please do not get into your cars and try to leave. Do not get into your car and try to leave. Why? Because law enforcement is responding. And do understand, we got maybe 100 people in here, maybe, I don't know. All 100 of us tried to get out of this place at one time. And now we got students into that. Do you think the roundabouts, do you think those access points aren't going to get constricted as we're trying to move, the bottleneck areas? Understand, law enforcement's trying to get in. They're trying to get here. They're trying to save our coworkers. They're trying to save our students. And for us to get into our vehicles and try to get out of here, what we're going to do is delay their response. So what if we can't run? What do we do? If evacuation is not possible, find a place to hide. Lock or barricade a door. Silence your phone. Hide behind large objects. Now, and again, we're going to talk about the difference between cover and concealment here. We're talking about large objects, something that's going to deflect or protect us against flying debris from bullets, things like that. Remain very quiet, at least as quiet as we possibly can be. Plan where you're going to hide out. Again, we've talked about this in our lockdown procedures and so forth, but plan where we're going to hide out. Again, answer the questions on how will you lock and block the door. Oop, what I just did. What did I do there? I hit a button. There, sorry. What weapons are in the room? What's available for you? Where's the light switch? Again, turning off your lights and turning off your cell phone. And again, when bullets fly, what's cover and what's concealment? Now, the military defines cover as that of something that will protect you from what's called small arms fire, i.e. rifle, pistol, things like that. That's cover. Cover to me would be like the cement wall. Cover to me would be a metal pillar, a metal pier. And now we do understand that in our rooms, we have these things behind our sheetrock and things like that. Just having an understanding of where all this stuff is at. But things of that nature. Concealment is nothing more than hiding you from view. A bush, a desk, a chair. That's concealment. That's not cover. These doors that we have here, some of these doors seem like, yeah, they're pretty thick. That should keep us from that, small arms fire. But it doesn't. It doesn't. And my training that I've received, we've shot through doors. And it goes through. Again, your hiding place should be out of the shooter's view, provide protection if shots are fired in your direction. Again, not trap or restrict your options for movement. Again, hide out. Silence your phone. The thing of it is we have to understand, in Virginia Tech was another instance of that's occurring, is that they were told, silence your phone. What ended up happening is the phone went off. Thanks, Gay. That phone went off. As this individual was walking by this room, they thought they were in the clear. All of a sudden, the phone went off. Ah! Somebody's back here. So silence your phone. Lay on the floor, away from the fields of fire. When they start talking about fields of fire, the things that we got to rationalize, understand that the fields of fire is somewhat up in this area here. So if we're up in this area here, where's the best way to be? Down low, right? Get low. Do not huddle together. If you're in a classroom, do not huddle together. Try to keep people spread out, separated, out of the view of that individual. If you're in a hallway, find an unlocked room to hide out. Don't trap yourself or restrict your options. And as a last resort, folks, we need to fight. For years, it has been a culture that stated we should not fight. We're to either flee or hide. Now, I am not saying we are to go hunt this person down or attempt to disarm or eliminate the threat. That is law enforcement's job. It is if the person is standing in front of you, has entered your room, or you've gone toe-to-toe with this person. You've come around the corner and there that person is at. That is the time to fight. We need to have a radical mind change here. I'm sure there's parents in the room, there's grandparents in the room. That mind change that I'm talking about is this, is what happened if it was bring your grandchild to school day? And this has occurred. Now you're toe-to-toe and you have your grandchild or your child standing next to you. What would you do? What would you do? Employees and students should arm themselves with any means possible, again, such as pocket pens, furniture. I don't necessarily know if we got golf clubs in each classroom yet, but fire extinguishers, umbrellas, letter openers, things like that. And here's the biggest thing. This is something that law enforcement and the military talks about quite a bit, is if you're breathing and if you're conscious, you still have fight in you. I'm not going to sit here and say, folks, you're not going to be injured. You possibly could be. But if you're breathing and you're conscious, you still have fight. Again, attempt to incapacitate the shooter, act with physical aggression, use improvised weapons, as I mentioned. And the biggest thing is commit to your actions. Commit to your actions. Just keep going until the aggression is over. Again, they say the best time to act is now. Time is not on our side with this. Engage your attacker at a first opportunity. And this is the one big thing here, folks, that I've seen folks have trouble with, is they want to validate. It wasn't happening to me at that time, so maybe the guys had a change of heart. Folks, this person's committed to his actions. It's been statistically proven that this person has committed to his actions, and there's nothing that you're going to say, nothing that you're going to be able to plead with that person or give that person that's going to stop them from doing what they want to do. So don't wait for them to prove that they're evil, because they've already proven that. The minute they walked into this building with the intent to commit violence, they've already proven that. So we don't have to wait for them to prove to us. Again, this may be your only chance for survival. Doing nothing will likely result in serious injury or death. Case studies have supported this. Action will always beat reaction. Now, one of the things that we talk about in personal protection and self-defense is a thing called the OODA loop. Anybody familiar with what the OODA loop is? The OODA loop is just basically an abbreviation for observe. You observe a situation. You observe a threat. You orient yourself to that threat. I turn to engage. I decide what I'm going to do. I formulate that plan. And again, we can get further deep into how that decision process works. But then you act. So that's an OODA loop. We're always doing this in our lives. We're always doing this. What they say is to disrupt that OODA loop, you change that from where I'm reacting to that individual as to where that individual is reacting to me. So again, if we have to engage, we need to disrupt that OODA loop. We need to engage to where now that person's reacting to me. How do I do that? Again, overwhelm as aggressively as possible against the attacker, yell, scream, distract, use weapons of opportunity, and attack vulnerable body areas. Again, the more people to assist, the better. There's a way of doing this, and this is something that I'll talk further later on about how we can do this. And again, to continue your assault until the attacker is defeated and the threat is eliminated. Now, when law enforcement arrives, some of the things that they're going to be wanting us to do, and something is to remain calm, or as calm as we possibly can, to follow instructions. Now, do realize that law enforcement is coming into the building, and their goal here is to get to where the killing is occurring. It is fast and very stressful for both the officers as well as us. Realize they are heading to an environment where they're putting themselves in harm's way, and they are acting basically on instinct and training. They are not going to be polite, folks. They are not going to be polite. They're going to be yelling, and they're going to be demanding. The best thing for us to do is to follow their instructions. The best thing for us to do is to follow their instructions. Again, avoid pointing or yelling at the officers. Do nothing that would construe to be aggression. Grabbing a hold of the officer, hugging the officer, thanking the officer for coming is not a good idea. Not that cops don't want hugs. Raise your hands and spread your fingers. Officers are trained that hands kill. They want to see that your hands are empty. When officers arrive, lie on the ground. When we train, folks, that's how we train. When law enforcement trains, that's how they train. They want people flat on the ground. They want their hands out, or at least on their knees, so they can see over you to what's going on. So if they actually have to do something over you or past you, they have that ability. They don't want you standing up and standing in their way. They want you down. Again, remain calm, or again, as calm as you can possibly be. Follow the directions. Again, the one thing I want you guys to pay attention to is the fact that of it is, if they come into a room, they potentially could be handcuffing everyone in that room. Because they don't know. They don't know who the shooter is. They don't know. So in order for everybody to be safe, they may handcuff everyone and then figure it out later. We do carry handcuff keys on occasion, so we will let you out of the handcuffs eventually. Be prepared to see, and let me just slow this down. Be prepared to see grotesque scenes. That's part of that mind setting as well. Do understand that if you are still in the building, they're going to have to get you out of the building, and they're going to want to get you past what potentially we could be seeing. So to emotionally survive this type of environment, we have to be mentally prepared that we might see things that are going to be very unpleasant. And again, just have the confidence and to know that there is help on the way for the injured. There's a training program that law enforcement is now moving towards. It's called 3ECHO training. It's where we're starting to bring emergency responders in earlier into the situation, bringing medical attention to the injured quicker. And the ultimate goal is just to go home alive. The ultimate goal is just to go home alive. Now this is where I go here. All right, so what I'm going to do, guys, we have about a 20-minute video here that I'm going to show you all. It's kind of towards the end here. That kind of will solidify kind of what we've been talking about here. All right, how do I do this? Do I hit this? Nope. Just to let you know, there's going to be some real quick, abrupt noise. I want people to be prepared for this with this video. Hopefully. What did I do wrong? This didn't happen when I practiced. Did it log me out because it's been so long? I think it, no, here. It was supposed to be embedded into the MinSCU site, and I think because I waited so long to get to this, the MinSCU site logged me out. So I apologize. Okay, here we go. Again, I apologize for that, folks.
Shots fired on campus. The last thing you'd expect to hear. The odds of being involved in a situation like this are similar to your chances of being struck by lightning. It's a strange thing about lightning, though. We use it as a way to describe something that seemingly has no chance of happening. But how many of us would stand next to a metal pole during a thunderstorm? I'm Randy Spivey.
And I'm Jim Sporleader, both from the Center for Personal Protection and Safety. The possibility of being involved in an active shooter incident on campus may be remote, but the consequences can be catastrophic. That's why it makes good sense for you to spend some time thinking about what you would do if you found yourself in such a situation.
It's a sad fact that shooting incidents do happen on college campuses. Because of that, there has been a dramatic increase in preventive measures such as campus-wide violence prevention programs, efforts to identify troubled students,
Yeah, it never did this.
the development of threat management teams, and a major effort has gone into creating and upgrading notification systems and refining response strategies to get law enforcement on the scene faster.
But even the best preventive systems can never be perfect. And let's be candid, if lightning does strike, if an active shooter enters your area on campus, it will be unlike any situation you have ever experienced. And in those initial heart-stopping moments, it will only involve you, other students and faculty, and the shooter. The bottom line is you'll need to take direct responsibility for your personal
Why is it buffering now? Lovely.
safety and security. You must develop a survival mindset.
The purpose of this training is to help you do exactly that. With the proper mindset and the necessary tools, you'll be better equipped to react with purpose and maximize your chance of survival if you find yourself in a situation like this.
Survivors make a commitment. They take a personal stake in their own safety and security. They do whatever it takes, emotionally, mentally, to survive a critical incident. They ask themselves the what-if question. How would I get out? How would I survive? What would I do? Where would I go?
We know that these incidents are over in a matter of minutes. Most often, they're over before law enforcement is able to respond.
Your survival mindset is like a protective shield comprised of awareness, preparation, and rehearsal. Awareness involves taking the time necessary to gain a basic understanding of an active shooter situation. Preparation is asking yourself the what-if questions that will enable you to develop effective response strategies. The last component, rehearsal, is practicing your plan.
Shots fired. Do you know what that sounds like? Unless you see the shooter, you may not recognize the sounds for what they are. Gunshots. For most of us, our experience with gunshots is drawn from movies and television that use special sound effects. That means real gunshots can sound artificial. You could lose precious seconds as you slowly realize that these are, in fact, life-threatening sounds.
What was that?
That was a gunshot.
In a situation like this, most people, when they hear these types of sounds, having maybe never heard gunshots at all in real life, have really no idea what to expect. And it's not unusual for them to think that they're anything but gunshots.
I would treat any sound that you may perceive as a gunshot as that and act accordingly. Don't second guess it, because when you second guess it, those seconds count.
Those are gunshots.
So what should you do in those precious first seconds? You'll need to figure out what's going on and make immediate decisions. How are you going to survive the situation? Will you get out? Is there a path of escape? Will you hide out? Is there a chance to get where the shooter might not find you? Or will you find yourself in a situation where the only option is to try to take out the shooter in whatever way you can?
These are serious decisions. That's why the survival mindset is so important to develop. Research shows that there's a real difference between reactions of people who've been trained to face stressful, life-threatening situations and those who have not. The first response is the same in both groups, startle and fear. But the reactions between the two begin to differ immediately after that. People who've gone through training, people like you, feel anxious, where the untrained and unprepared begin to feel panic. Trained people begin to recall what they've learned. The untrained fall into disbelief.
Are those gunshots?
At this point, the divide between the two starts to get wider.
I can't believe this is happening.
While the untrained are lost in denial, this can't be happening to me. The trained are preparing to act just as they've rehearsed. Finally, as the untrained descend into helplessness,
We gotta get out of here.
the trained commit to action based on a survival mindset.
Those are too close.
So that mindset is preparing yourself for the eventuality that it might happen, and that if it does happen, just tell yourself, I will survive.
A survival mindset enables you to act quickly and effectively. Let's go back to the foundation, awareness. When you get on a plane and the crew asks you to note the nearest exit, they're not trying to create fear. They're certainly not trying to make you afraid to fly. They're just trying to make you aware, providing information so you can develop the survival mindset for that situation. They know that if there is an emergency, getting you in a predetermined mindset will help you take rapid, effective actions in a stressful situation. They want you to be mindful, not fearful. If you're mindful, you'll be better able to make that first critical decision. Take a tip from the airlines. Like noting the emergency exits, it may only take a minute or two to look around your environment and make some mental notes about how you'd handle an active shooter situation.
When you walk into your classroom, take a look at the exits. Take a look at what is available if I had to hide behind it, if I had to use it as a buffer between an assailant and myself.
Well, it's important for students as they walk around their campus to ask the what-if questions. What would they do if somebody came in with a gun and actively started shooting?
Think of all the contingencies. What are you going to do? Where are your escape routes? Where's the best access to call 911? Thinking about a situation before it actually develops is the best way to be prepared.
Looking at your environment through the lens of survival will help you to take decisive action more quickly. Of course, it's also important to be aware of the people on your campus as well. The fact is, there's no profile of an active shooter. And while we don't want you to walk around campus paranoid that everybody you meet could be a violent offender, we do want you to pay attention to the things that seem out of the ordinary. Accepting that a situation like this could happen is the first step toward decisive action.
So first, figure out the situation. What's going on? Where's it happening and who's doing it? Build your awareness using all your senses. Do it quickly and stay calm. Trust your intuition, your gut feeling. It's a built-in survival mechanism. Some people say it's knowing without knowing why, and it's an invaluable tool. For example, if you hear something that sounds like it might be a gunshot, assume that it is until you know otherwise. Once you figure out what's going on, you'll be better prepared to take action.
If you determine that you can get out to a safer area, then get out and get out fast. Don't wait for others to validate your decision and leave your belongings behind. The best way to survive an active shooter situation is not to be where he is and not to go where he can see you.
I'm on campus. I'm in Monroe Hall, and there's a guy here shooting people, and he's in a yellow hat.
When you get out, immediately call out to let authorities know what's going on. Do not assume someone else is calling.
If you have a cell phone, call 911 or use any campus emergency phone and be ready to give them useful information, and be persistent, as the phone lines may be jammed with other calls. Remember, no matter how good your school's mass emergency notification system is, they can't alert others until someone provides that first critical information. Calmly and quickly, tell them where you are and what's happening.
In some cases, you may not be able to get out. The shooter may be between you and the only exit, or perhaps you would have to enter the area or the hallway the shooter is using. It might be safer for you to remain in place because you're well hidden and well protected. In any case, if you can't get out, then you must find a place to hide out. Find a place that will keep you hidden from the shooter's view and will provide some measure of protection should the shooter fire in your direction. If possible, avoid places that might trap you or restrict your options of movement. Once you've found your spot to hide out, you'll want to keep out the shooter. Hiding in a room that can be locked and that has plenty of things to hide behind is best. Blockade the door with heavy furniture, even if the door can be locked. If the shooter is nearby, though, just lock the door and get totally silent. Turn off any radios or other noise-producing objects in the room that might alert the shooter to your presence. And don't forget to silence that cell phone or pager if you have one. As soon as you have an opportunity, and without attracting the shooter's attention, call out to 911.
If there are two or more of you in the same place, do not huddle together for mutual protection or moral support. Spread out.
Those are too close. Spread out.
It's much easier for someone to shoot a group of people who are huddled in one place than if they are scattered around the room. Even if you're in a small room, spreading out will give you options and make it harder for the shooter if he does get into your hiding place. When spreading out in a room, quietly talk about what you'll do if the shooter enters. Whichever action you're taking, whether it's get out or hide out and keep out, you should help out where you can. Help others escape as you go. Help prevent others from entering the danger area. If someone near you has a life-threatening injury, if possible, provide first aid and keep them alive. Let others around you know what's happening and try to maintain calm and help them focus on survival. Keep in mind, as events unfold, you must continue to figure out what's happening so you can adjust your actions accordingly.
What if an incident begins while you're on your way to class or walking across campus? If someone starts shooting, stay in motion and find protection. It could be a tree. It could be a wall. Anything that will give you some protection while you figure out the situation and see if you need to do more.
Classrooms and lecture halls like this are unique to college campuses, and they've also been the location of prior critical incidents. What could you do if a shooter enters a place like this? There might be some opportunities to get out, either through other doors or perhaps a window, But realistically, people in the center of the classroom may not have the opportunity to get out. In that case, your only options might be to spread out, take cover, or take out the shooter. Unfortunately, you may find yourself in the same room as the shooter, maybe even face to face. You have to assume that his intentions are lethal to you, that his presence is a very real threat to your life. If a shooter has decided to shoot everyone he comes across, he'll probably succeed unless you stop him.
If you can't hide out and you have absolutely no other option, you may have to confront your assailant.
Convince yourself that you have what it takes to survive when your life is on the line. This is a life and death decision only you can make. It's so important to understand that in this kind of situation, anything you do or anything you don't do may involve life-threatening risk. If you determine there's no other option than to take out the shooter, then you must be prepared to do whatever is necessary to neutralize the threat.
Before the police get there, it's you against that bad guy, and you need to do everything you can to try to stop him, because you can't just sit and let him harm you or take your life or take your friend's life.
To do this, you'll need to become more aggressive than you ever thought possible. This means you either disrupt his actions or incapacitate him. Throwing things, yelling, using improvised weapons can all be effective in this situation. But total commitment and absolute resolve are critical.
I'm going to throw this backpack. I'm going to throw this book at him. And then what are you going to do? Well, then we're going to gang up on him. How many are you in here? 140. How many of him? 1.
If there are 2 or more of you, spread out, make a plan, and act as a team to overcome the shooter. Once again, you and the group will have to make a total commitment to your action and do absolutely whatever it takes without hesitation. To understand this better, think of the terrorist attacks on 9/11. Up until that day, the conventional wisdom about plane hijackings was that you should be calm, non-threatening, and wait for the plane to arrive at the hijacker's destination. Obviously, that guidance didn't apply to the hijackings that day. In fact, the passengers of United Flight 93 realized this and used a process like we're describing in this program to figure out what was happening. Once they figured out that the purpose of the hijacking was to kill as many people as possible, the passengers took decisive action to neutralize the threat and prevent further loss of life.
During my law enforcement career, I had the opportunity to talk to many people who survived critical incidents. And the commonality they shared was a single-mindedness of purpose to survive. No matter if they were physically injured, they were not going to stop. They were not just going to throw their hands up and quit. They were going to see it through.
You have to tell your mind that, you know what, I will survive. I will never give up. I will live.
There's another possible resolution to an active shooter situation, and that's when law enforcement arrives and takes action to end the shooting. When officers arrive, be prepared to calmly, quickly, and accurately tell them what they need to know. Location of the shooter, number of the shooters if there's more than one, description of the shooter, and number and kind of weapons they have.
Police, where's the shooter?
I don't know.
What's he wearing?
He's got like a black shirt and a yellow ball cap on.
Do not expect officers to assist you as you get out.
Okay, stay here.
Their first job is to stop the shooter and end the bloodshed.
Law enforcement is trained to go to the sounds of the gunshots and eliminate the threat.
If you're in a room and an emergency response team comes in, you must not present a threat to them. Do not point at them or the shooter. Do not scream or yell. Be quiet and compliant. Do exactly as they say. Remember, they have no way of knowing immediately whether you're one of the bad guys or not.
Police department, show me your hands!
The officers have been taught that hands kill, and they're trained to first look at people's hands. So raise your arms, spread your fingers, and show them your hands as you drop to the floor.
The first thing we need to do is make sure that you're not a threat yourself, so we need to see your hands.
They'll know immediately that you're not armed or aggressive. That will help them focus on anyone who is armed and prevent them from mistaking you for the bad guy in a very dangerous situation. Remember, they have to begin by assuming everyone is a threat.
Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Go!
Don't come running up to us. Don't do anything that we could perceive as threatening. Have your hands in plain view. Be as calm as possible. And then be prepared that we probably won't spend a whole lot of time talking to you because we have to go address the issue.
It's important for you to realize There are differences between an active shooter and a hostage-taking situation. The hostage taker wants to use people as leverage to achieve a goal. This is very different than an active shooter, who is there to take lives. If you find yourself in a hostage situation, remain calm, follow directions, and wait for the authorities to resolve the situation.
In a hostage situation, you want to exercise patience, you want to be compliant, and you want to give the authorities a chance to reach a negotiated resolution.
Historically, the vast majority of hostage situations are resolved through negotiations and end peacefully. But if the situation changes and someone is actually walking around with a gun shooting people, you're in an active shooter situation. The focus of this program has been on surviving an active shooter situation. One of the most effective ways of dealing with this difficult problem is through effective prevention programs. Interestingly, the same survival mindset we've been talking about today can sometimes prevent a situation from becoming violent in the first place. There may be warning signs or behaviors of concern that something is wrong.
We do see pre-incident indicators. We do see some behaviors that might suggest the possibility of eventual violence. And many of these offenders oftentimes exhibit angry or argumentative behavior. They often blame others for their problems. They fail to take responsibility for their own actions. They're what we would call injustice collectors. They perceive every slight as a major issue that they have to take action upon.
If you're suspicious about something or you really have an uncomfortable feeling, far better to report those types of observations and feelings than to just disregard them and hope that they're going to go away. You have many options when it comes to passing this information on to someone who can act on it. You have your campus law enforcement agencies, you have your RAs, you have your professors, you have your counseling centers. Take advantage of one of those options. If you wish to maintain your anonymity, there's ways to do that and still get the information to someone who can take some action on it and potentially prevent a tragedy.
It's okay to say something. There have been numerous shootings across the country have been prevented by students going, there's something wrong here.
We cannot do this by ourselves. This is a community, and in order to keep it safe, we need everybody's help, their eyes and their ears.
Hopefully, your college or university already has a violence prevention program in place that provides specific guidance on how to maintain a campus free from threats and violence. Remember, it's everyone's responsibility to keep the campus safe.
Shots fired on campus, a sound you hope to never hear. But if lightning does strike, you'll always have a weapon, a survival mindset. You can survive.
Okay. All right, basically, folks, in conclusion, it is a situation that's going to be very dangerous, very dramatic, but it's something that we have to prepare for, something we have to plan for, it's something that we have to basically to keep ourselves safe. So again, for us not to do this, not to prepare for this, would be a travesty. So again, as we move forward, I encourage you guys to utilize the information that we have available. We have emergency procedures posted pretty much throughout the college in all classrooms and things like that. I'd encourage you to kind of pay attention to those things and follow through those things and share them with your students. So again, thank you for your time. had a question real quick? That's the $1 million question with how this is supposed to go. We're going to work on that. I think maybe this afternoon we could probably when we get together, collaboratively get together, I think that'd be a great topic of discussion. So I'd appreciate if you show up and help me out with that. President Lumbad had mentioned that we have 15 minutes here. We'd like to go ahead and take a 15-minute break. And then Officer Jason Reiber will be coming up and speaking with us about critical incidents. Thank you. That's one more thing. Are you
So, you're registering for a mathematics class.
You're going to need this?
But you don't know which class to take. Central Lakes College offers a variety of math courses that are key to graduating. But how do you know which one's right for you? If you're a student who is studying in the social science or nursing fields, taking an Intro to Stats class will complement your already required curriculum. If a student is enrolled in a liberal arts program, a pathway to concepts in math will make transferring to a four-year institution as easy as pie. However, if a student is enrolled in the science and math and many other fields, Central Lakes College offers a more in-depth series of classes, following the college algebra pathway. After completing college algebra, students are able to pursue a pre-calculus through Calculus 2 before branching off to either multivariable calculus, linear algebra, differential equations, or all of the above. If math does not really add up for you, Central Lakes College offers developmental math courses as well. Depending on your placement test scores, you may be advised to enroll in math pathways or intermediate algebra to become prepared for the college-level courses. If you are still unsure of what mathematics class at CLC is right for you, do not be afraid to consult a student advisor or a math instructor.
You don't have to go to the Twin Cities to find top-notch entertainment. Right here in Brainerd, you have access to numerous talents from across the country in an intimate venue. Central Lakes College, Cultural Arts presents.
Hey everybody, welcome to a special holiday episode of CLC TV. I'm your host, River Stumpf. In this episode, we'll give you an overview of everything you can do for fun over the winter season, right here in the Brainerd Lakes area. First up, we have some cool winter activities you can do. For example, Mount Ski Gull, where you can have loads of fun snowboarding, tubing, and skiing.
So what is Ski Gull? It's a great little hill in central Minnesota. We have one of the state's largest tubing hills. Got skiing, got the ski leagues. We have an incredible terrain park with a high-speed lift on. We have hot deals all the time, but for college kids specifically, if you come, you can get 15% off by showing your ID at any time. Great place to come. You should come check it out.
If skiing down snowy hills isn't your thing, come to the Brainerd Lakes Curling Club at the County Fairgrounds. It'll be fun, relaxing, and exciting to try.
We certainly extend our invitation to students to come check us out. It's really a fun social activity. We have large screen TVs and beverages. We do have a club license here so that we can provide adult beverages or, regular sodas and waters and snacks. Saturday, we've been opening up our 6 to 9 curling time frame for students to come and hang out and get a chance to learn to curl.
If the cold outdoors is not your thing, we've got indoor stuff for you as well, such as the Mills Fleet Farm Shooting Range.
The Mills Fleet Farm indoor gun and archery ranges in Baxter offer anyone the opportunity to enjoy some quality time experiencing the world of sports shooting. The gun range has targets that can be adjusted up to 50 yards away to practice their marksmanship in a safe environment with proper protection. You can bring your own firearm or rent one of theirs from a wide selection. They also offer a class for anyone who is interested in learning the basics of gun safety. An archery range is another feature that Mills offers at this facility. They also have leagues available for anyone who would like to compete in them, so get some friends together and sign up.
But if shooting at the gun range doesn't appeal to you, then you can head on over to Jack's house, where you can eat food and compete against friends bowling.
We like to think we have an entertainment center for the whole family. We have bowling as well as a full menu restaurant and a bar. We also have an arcade for the kids and have an indoor golf simulator also. Well, we like to think that it's still a fairly cheap entertainment. It's great, college students today, a lot of them have kids, so it's something that's great for the whole family. You can bring your wife, your girlfriend, your kids into this. It's entertainment for the whole family. It involves everything, your food, your entertainment, everything all in one place.
Even here on campus, you can always find fun and interesting things to get involved in, like the Why Trees Matter exhibit, which is held on the Brainerd campus. Now, here's Riley Nelson with the story.
We've got an obligation and a responsibility at Central Lakes College to ensure that our employees and our students know a little bit more about Indian people.
One of the great opportunities at CLC is the chance to see and experience other cultures while attending class. Recently, the Ojibwe Nations and CLC hosted the Why Treaties Matter event, which featured a powwow and an American Indian exhibit.
People, Indian tribes, we're still here. And history still matters today. And how do Central Lakes College students walk away from this campus and be better informed citizens and neighbors and employees understanding American Indian people better, tribal law a little bit more, and again, how sovereignty and how treaties really play out in everyday life?
Riley for CLC TV, back to you, River.
Lastly, as an example of activities that students can take part in, was the cardboard boat race as part of the Central Lakes College Club Olympics, which was a wet and wild event. Students competed for their clubs in multiple challenges to win prizes, such as a pizza party and, yes, brace yourselves, $1,000. Cool, huh? See, there are plenty of things to do for fun here on campus and around the Brainerd Lakes area. Before we head out, we just want to give a big shout out to our first-year videography students who helped us out by filming footage for our show. Much thanks, guys. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching this special episode of CLC TV. We hope everyone has a great winter break, and we'll see you next year.
Express yourself. Express yourself.
What is this place? Hey! Welcome to the CLC bookstore! We have clothing, snacks, school supplies, and so much more!
How can I pay for this?
You can charge it to your Hire One card, which we here at the bookstore can also help you manage.
Can I buy textbooks for my classes here too?
We even sell books! And we can even buy back your books. We also sell discounted movie tickets.
Let's go!
So if you guys want to go ahead and come on in and we'll get settled in. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get this kicked off here in just a second here. So if you guys want to go ahead and come on in and get seated and get going. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. I just wanted to point one thing out here that there was a question that was brought up at the end of the presentation earlier that had to deal with what's next in reference to due to the effect that my last presentation is something new, is not something that we've been at least talking about over the past few years. It's always been the lockdown process. I just wanted to point out, do understand that this is a new thing. Or at least for our community, our college, and as well as kind of nationwide, statewide, nationwide. So what we're going to be playing catch up here, and we're going to be obviously incorporating things as it comes forward. So just I want to let you guys know that it is something that we do already have on our emergency procedures and things of that nature. So I just wanted to let you guys know that it is something that the college is moving forward with. So the next presentation that's going to be coming forward again is Officer Jason Reiber. Jason is, well, he's a coworker of mine, he's a friend of mine. A few years back, our agency, my law enforcement agency, asked Jason to come forward and speak to our department. If you guys know anything about the events that has occurred throughout our community, you know, emotional survival is very, very big in law enforcement. So Jason came forward. Jason came in and did a presentation for us. And as I sat through Jason's presentation, I'm going, wow, a lot of the stuff that he is saying to me and talking to me about is really, really fitting. And to be quite frank with you, a lot of the stuff that he put forward kind of put a lot of stuff that I was dealing with in my professional career, put it in perspective and kind of helped me out. To the point where when I developed our law enforcement skills program, I'm going, he's in it. I need him here, and I need him to be presenting to our students and helping our students begin their law enforcement career, both technically and tactically as well as emotionally. So without further ado, I'd like to bring Jason forward, and I'll let him kind of share some of his things here. So Jason.
Well, hi. So I first of all want to say thanks for having me here. This is a topic of conversation that is difficult for people to grasp because, I mean, we have a room full of professionals. We have faculty and staff for a college, and how many of you in here have been trained on how to deal with unruly students? Anybody? Okay, so we've got people that have training on how to deal with unruly students. How many of you have went through professional training on how to get up and teach classes? Should be a lot of hands there, right? Okay. How many of you have been through professional training on how to deal with the aftermath of witnessing something that the human body should never have to witness? A couple of us. Okay. That's kind of where we are right now. Is we're playing catch up, trying to get people to understand that there is a way back to normal, and a lot of that is getting ourselves to be open and speak, talking to people. So what I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to play something for you to get you into the mindset of what we're going to be talking about, and I just want you to listen very carefully to what is being said.
Okay. Airline 67. 67 Sandy Hook School. Caller is indicating she thinks there's someone shooting in the building. Sir, units responding to Sandy Hook School. The front glass has been broken out of the school. They're unsure why. At all units, the individual that I have on the phone is continuing to hear what he believes to be gunfire. At 956, that you come up with school on the Crest Road. Other units take up the station point in that driveway. 95, Roger. Copy.
Who knows where that audio came from? Should be everybody in the room, right? We're all familiar with Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook is something that nobody in that building ever thought would happen. Who would have thought that someone would come in and want to take out a bunch of kids? The response to Sandy Hook, you heard the first few seconds of the response to Sandy Hook, to that incident. What isn't publicly known, or at least isn't widely known, because it's no longer reported, because there's other things that people are reporting on now, is that there is faculty, there is employees of the school, there are kids that can't go back to school, there are police officers that are no longer on the job because they can't get themselves to go back to work after seeing what they saw and dealing with what they had to deal with. We have to prepare for the fact that someday that will happen here. We hope it won't. We train for it. We try to mitigate the circumstances, but we're going to assume that at some point it will happen, and this is how we're going to get beyond it. Now, first things that we have to do is identify a critical incident. So when you look at critical incidents, it's any event, and it doesn't have to be grand scale. It's any event that overwhelms an individual's coping mechanism for that particular trauma. So it doesn't have to be widespread blood, guts, and gore everywhere. It can be something as significant as doing CPR on an infant. That could be a critical incident for somebody. I know it was for me, and that was before I had kids. You don't even have to be directly involved with an incident for something to affect you. When it comes to Sandy Hook, I was on patrol, but I heard about the incident. And that night when I got home, I laid down, I went to bed, and I had a nightmare about that happening at Eagle View Elementary in Pequot Lakes. At the time, I had a kindergartner in that school. And my response in the dream was to that school, where my own kid was taken out by a shooter. Do you think Sandy Hook, just listening to the audio, had an effect on me? Just listening to the news reports had an effect on me? The way I knew that it affected me is because my first thought was, if God is going to take my kid from me in that fashion, let him be first, so he doesn't have time to be afraid. We're in a collegiate system here, so we have the ability to fight back. But just because an incident wasn't grand scale doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect on us. Now, you look at primary versus secondary victims. A primary victim would be someone who's actually been injured during the event. A secondary victim would be the responders or the survivors, people that were not injured. And the Mitchell model for this type of crisis intervention is designed for secondary victims. It's designed to mitigate the likelihood of someone developing post-traumatic stress. So we go through the terrible 10, and everybody, can look at these and say these are things that we can identify with. Suicide of a colleague. For public safety, we look at line of duty deaths. If you were injured during an attack here, that would be something that would be potentially labeled as critical for you. MCIs, multi-casualty incidents, an active shooter would be one of those things. Now, you look at police shootings, those are making a huge, huge thing in the media today. In events involving children, I already talked about Sandy Hook. Now you look at all the different collegiate facilities throughout our country that have had active shooters just in the last 2 years. Anybody know how many there are? Anybody name one? Okay. Prolonged incidents. 35W bridge collapse. That went on for quite a while. Now you look at that incident that happened at the theater over in France. That went on for a while. So prolonged incidents with a lot of things that people have to take in. Of course, anything with excessive media interest. And, again, any significant event that's going to overwhelm your coping mechanism. So stress, a response to a stimulus characterized by increased physical and psychological arousal. Now, there's two different types of stress, okay? When you look at how you react to regular stress, you got your fight, flight, or freeze. I don't need to read all those. It's pretty self-explanatory, but everybody at some point in their life has experienced every single one of those. Some people have test anxiety. They get the freeze response for test anxiety. I used to be that guy. Now, eustress versus distress, positive, motivating. When Mr. Davis is yelling at the skill students and trying to motivate them, that would be designed to be eustress, positive, motivating. You get into distress, it's the excessive, debilitating. That's where people start locking up and they just can't function. Burnout. As a paramedic, I've been through burnout twice. It's something that comes on gradually, and you start to resent what you do. You start to resent the job that you have to do. You start to resent the people that are calling you to do your job. Ultimately, if you don't mitigate the circumstances and seek some form of assistance through either employee assistance programs or professional counseling, the burnout stress can get into the preface of critical incident stress. It's going to make it that much more debilitating when you do get into an incident that's going to overwhelm you. I had them pass out these sheets. If you've taken a look at them already, you can see
On the one side, you'll see stress symptoms. Take a look at these stress symptoms and even some of the symptoms that it wouldn't be a big deal on a normal day. After you get through a critical incident, even the smallest thing, not being able to eat, not being able to take in fluids, you're not sleeping well, you're irritable towards your friends and family, all of those things together can start to accumulate and move you down towards burnout and or getting into the debilitating stress that follows a critical incident. So as you look through these sheets, we're not going to take the time to read through all these. Again, my normal class is 4 hours, and I had to bring this down to 25 minutes, so please forgive me. But if you look through these things, there's a couple of things that I really, really want you to focus on. The first one would be the stress symptoms. And then for everybody, take a look at the information sheet for significant others. Just because they were not involved in an incident doesn't mean they can't assist you, okay? As a married guy myself, my wife knows if I've been on a bad call. She can tell the moment I walk in the door. There are things that she looks for every single time because she's got the fresh eyes. So pay attention to that. Read through this information. First of all, if you do happen to come across something that would be a critical incident for you, this is the first thing that we're going to give you. Because it's going to be that gentle reminder of these are things that you can look for, and nobody remembers all of them when you actually go through the incident. So it's just a helpful reminder to get people thinking. Now, you start looking at the reactions of a critical incident. You have to remember that post-traumatic stress is not post-traumatic stress disorder, and a lot of people misunderstand that. A lot of people look at post-traumatic stress disorder and they think that's what everybody gets locked up for, and they have to go through intensive counseling and medication and everything. And they think that if they're labeled as someone that has post-traumatic stress due to an incident, that they're automatically diagnosed. With post-traumatic stress disorder, you got to remember that is a diagnosis that's only being made by a doctor. Post-traumatic stress is something that happens to all of us as we're going through these types of incidents. So just some examples of things that would be large-scale incidents. The ones that we've had around here, I mean, let's think about this. Everybody knows that we have domestic violence in Brainerd. We've had rapes in Brainerd. We have natural disasters in Brainerd. I mean, look at what we had just this last summer with the blowdown. You go back a couple years and you had, 15 or 20 city blocks in Wadena that were taken out by a tornado. Okay? Long-scale events with injuries and deaths. Thankfully we haven't had any deaths in our area due to natural disasters, but now we're looking at people coming back from war zones. Do you think they're affected by post-traumatic stress? These are people that are going to be coming into your school. You have veterans that are going to be coming into the school that have been released from a war zone, and whether or not they have the diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder is irrelevant. They will have post-traumatic stress. So when you start looking at the profile of individuals, like Mr. Davis was talking about, everybody uses the word profile in a negative instance, and that's absolutely false. If you have an individual that fits the profile of someone who is under a lot of stress, we have to get rid of the political correctness and say something. It's just one of those things that we can't be PC anymore. If I'm going to go off the deep end, I want to make sure somebody is going to call me on it. That's my best chance at survival, and ultimately, especially in a school setting, that's your best chance at survival as well. You look at the incident that happened recently out in California. 2 separate people came forward and said they knew something was up. They knew something was going to come forward, but they didn't come forward because they were afraid of being labeled as racist. So, you need to say something. Now, after we get through the initial impacts of an incident, there's a couple of things that we're going to do. We get into the aspects of critical incident stress management, and it starts back in 1906. But what I want you to look at is 1999. Mass shooting in Colorado High School, everybody heard about Columbine, leads to an establishment of school crisis response programs. Do you guys have one here? I don't know. That's a question I did not ask before I got here, and I should have. Crickets. Okay. So, well, once again, 4 hours to 25 minutes. Please forgive me. You know, in 1999, after Columbine, people got together and they started thinking about what are we going to do in the aftermath. Now, after Columbine, we had Red Lake, we had Ricori. So there's been two right now in Minnesota, and just recently there was another one that was thwarted down in Waseca. Okay, so it's happening, and it's happening here. So if you haven't had the discussion about post-incident responses, this is now the time to do so with this preparation, okay? There are models available that are designed for schools, both in the secondary, post-secondary, educational systems, collegiate, all, you know, even business models have a response policy that you can model off of. So a committee to get that started would be great. But it starts with pre-incident preparedness is where the management of critical incident stress begins. Talking about it before it happens is vital. Fire departments have pre-plans. They have a big building like this. There's a big binder that says, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. If this happens, this is what we're going to do. If the roof collapses, this is what we're going to do. Mitigating critical incident stress from a school shooting is pre-plan, pre-incident preparedness at its finest. So that's where it begins. You start going through what the goal is of critical incident management, and that is getting you back to what would be considered a new normal. Now, everybody in here has seen the movie Back to the Future, right? Okay. Remember how, you know, they had the timeline, the 1985 timeline? That's where we are today. Now, as soon as they get back into the DeLorean and take off and go back in time, that is where your critical incident. That moment that you have a critical incident, your 1985 timeline stops, and you're either going to go up or you're going to go down, but that timeline ceases to exist because you have been changed. So the goal of critical incident stress management is to get you back to a sense of new normal. New normal being your ability to function in your job, with your friends, your family, social networks, you know, that would be your new normal. That is the goal of critical incident stress management. And we do that in a number of different ways. You know, you start looking back in you know, the war, military, I give my hat to the military because they really do everything first. From medical procedures to the things that we use for training, for clearing buildings, the military did everything. And they also spearheaded the initiation of protocols and treatments for post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress disorder. But it wasn't always that way. Yeah, you think back to you know, Patton's time, and you watch the movie Patton, and he slaps the guy for being a coward because he didn't want to go back out on the battlefield. That's the way it was back then. It was looked at as cowardice. Now they realize that there are physiological changes that happen within the body when someone is exposed to a critical incident or something that's not designed for them to see. So, a couple of things. I know nobody needs to hear exercise tips from a fat man, okay? But in all honesty, you know, you have somewhere in the neighborhood of 132 to 157 really nasty chemicals that go into your system when you're under excessive stress. And the only way to get them out is to sweat them out, breathe them out, and excrete them out, okay? So go out and do some walking, you know. You start looking at the different chemistries that are involved for survival, and when you have that stress response, You know, you've got your catecholamines that really get your system just amped up and ready to go. The endogenous opioids, that's what happens when somebody is in one of these incidents and they get shot, but they keep coming towards you. They don't feel anything because the body has generated enough endogenous opioids that they don't feel pain. So when you're in that fight for your life, when they say keep fighting, you're not dead yet, that's exactly what they mean. So once you get through the critical incident, you've got all these chemicals that are surging through your system. The only way to get them out is to exercise, sweat them out, and you know, even if that means just going up and down the stairs rather than taking the elevator, which I need to do a lot more of, but do that. And also you need to avoid putting other chemicals in your system. Now, this is going to sound really, really insane, but if it comes in a bag or a box, don't eat it for at least a week, because all processed foods have a lot more of these nasty chemicals that are going to circulate through your system. You need to stay away from things like alcohol, tobacco, and of course illicit drugs. I got to say that. But stay away from all those things. Now, the way that the memory works, and I love this because it's a lot like a computer. You have an incident of any sort, the birth of your first grandchild, the birth of your first kid. That's a memory for you. It's one that you can recall with fondness and experience, and it automatically gets filed away in the right spot. Now you have a critical incident, something that you're not used to seeing, and sorry, I'm trying to hurry here. You get through the incident, but your brain has to find a place for it to go. So talking through it in a step-by-step process will get you to find a fit. That way you can recall the memory as experience and not as nightmares or anything that's going to control you. So really, really quickly, for us, we're going to do a diffusing right away. That's where we show up. We do 20 minutes. We give you one of these sheets. We tell you exactly what you can expect for the first 24 to 48 hours. Then we move on to the debriefing. 7 steps we go through. We talk out the incident in those steps and in that order. We try to do that within 72 to 96 hours because that's when your body has had enough chance to rest and you recall the most. After that, we'll do a follow-up. A couple weeks go by, we'll just check in, make sure everything is going all right. If we need to do a referral to get you to someone else that can actually do a diagnosis or do intense psychotherapy, that is what this program is designed to do. And these are available through your EAPs, even with us through Central Minnesota. We can recommend people to come in and assist with these types of incidents. Our team is going to be here if there's an incident at school. But our team is going to be for the emergency responders. There's going to be a lot of other people within our organization that can reach out to other people with mental health backgrounds that can get people in here to sit down and walk through the steps, walk through the process. So bottom line is you start looking at compassion fatigue. Everybody worries about what everybody else is going to think. Don't worry about that. Get yourself back to that new normal. Talk to each other. Find a good friend, talk to your spouse, talk to anybody. Phone a friend if you have to, use that extra card. Find a friend on the side of the street if you have to. Just talk to somebody. And if you got nobody else, talk to me. I can talk for days, so just give me a call. Again, my apologies, I had to shrink this down from 4 hours down to 25 minutes. But if anybody has ever any questions or anything like that, please give me a call. Like I said, I can talk to anybody. Me and that brick wall were having a good conversation not too long ago. So. Whoops. Yeah, let's get rid of that one. So with that, any questions for me? Thank you very much for your time.
it's gone. Oh, here it is. How many of you saw that on Facebook, right? So I'm here to offer a little bit of stress relief after the morning's presentation and the critical response plan stress session as well. I'm here to talk about the 11 inspiring New Year's resolutions for educators and folks that work with students, and this is from teachhub.com. We want you to stay positive. That was from the president's admin. She said, boo. Stay positive. Make your office and your classroom a really happy place. Come on, Mary. I'm getting booed. You know how much courage it takes for me to get up here and try to do this? Spice up your classroom. Build fitness into your meetings and your curriculum. Get your work life in order. Plan ahead to move up the pay scale. We all would want to do that here at CLC. Get organized. Work smarter, not harder.
Hey, Mary.
Don't let administrative and school policies get you
Mary.
down.
Mary!
Tara. What are you doing,
Mary.
Tara? Hold on, be quiet, will you?
No, you be quiet.
Don't let administrative
Mary,
and school policies get
stop.
you down. Set goals and avoid autopilot mode.
Mary!
Tara.
This is terrible.
No, it's not.
People are going to have post-traumatic stress from this.
Oh my, OMG. Oh my gosh.
Mary, you got to stop.
Just a second, Tara. Tara to the rescue. Okay. This is supposed to be fun, you guys. Come on. Help us out here. She sounds like she's itching herself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, they can hear you, Tara. All right.
Team CLC, right here. Yeah.
We're awesome. We're cool.
Mary, you got to stop with that list. It was horrible.
Came from an educator's website, Tara.
Oh, yeah, that's awful.
You're really itching.
This is horrible. Okay.
We'll just scratch the mic.
Don't tell the boss guy.
You're right,
Mary, do you not know what we've been through this fall?
Heck, yes.
All right, so we got here on. What happened, President Lundblad today? I'm leaving, you guys. Have a nice life. That was great.
What
then
else?
he said something about pathways, and everybody went, what? And then prioritization.
Prioritization.
That was fun. That didn't cause any stress for anybody.
Assessment.
And then, of course, there's assessment. Everybody excited about that? Woo!
Budgets.
Budgets. Oh, wait a minute. We have an enrollment problem. So, Mary, you're not encouraging anybody.
But there's change on the horizon.
Yes, there is. But we need to talk about why we're really here.
Why are we here, Tara? It's on the screen.
Well, I should have looked there. No, we're here for the students. And we make a difference in our students' lives no matter what we do here at CLC. Everybody touches students' lives. And sometimes we have to come back to that because it has been a very stressful year for people. I know we all came off break, and I looked at faculty when they came back and said, how was your break? You know what I got? I
I look around and look at each one, you know, this is really important that we remember. Relationship matters, and it matters to become your college community. We've got to be in good shape ourselves, right? We have to be caring, we have to be kind to each other, related to ensuring the percentage change. Nancy's talking about retiring. Ooh. As well. And we've got lots of times in this aren't really nice. They get competitive, they get territorial, we get afraid, right? Go to that stress moment. We can't be really sensitive about being kind. Other ways that we can do that is remembering one, the impact that we made on students' lives. This last year, I was in charge of student contact. And I really loved that opportunity. The opportunity to day-to-day with you. Gave me an opportunity to work with staff and faculty. And to help us move from a fully empowered, disciplined, working with students to heal rather than to punish them. We know this is not true. I am incredibly blessed to be on where I see students' lives change daily, monthly, and we know that this is life. Our mission talks about building futures for only will we do. I wouldn't be alive this day had it not been for the passion, hard work, and I have a plan and a mission on my life. My kids now my kids now see me. My kids now see me. My kids now I have a plan. Especially in college, played a key role in helping me stay alive. Folks, I hear that all the time. When you doubt yourself in the college of your past, this is the that are following. We have students that are following. We have students that are following you. And those students are students following you. Have a purpose and have a relationship. Don't have that relationship. Take that time to do what you do. Because we're going to go back and listen to some of the stories. I see it on Facebook. I got that. And all of a sudden I see a student's face on the side. And I'll look at it. And I see students talking about the impact. The Meta-5 program. Students talking about what Ottawa did in their life, right? Students talking about English and taking time. They can now tell their stories. Talking about everything. And now I can tell my folks, we make an incredible difference in the lives of our students every day. Right? We do. Oh wait, there's more. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's Mary. Oh, yeah. Old boss. Your old boss. Hello. Yeah. So good to see you. Yeah. Now, we want you to know that we must invite you here today because you must have an there's nothing more of luck than your
I still hear the news. Yeah, and boy did me and Lena hear the news after the Christmas break. Yeah, which one of it is we gonna share about? Oh yeah, hold on there. Now, speaking of news, John, that I still believe on that new program that Pete Olander and Nate Peterson have started up over there at Staples. Charles, are they here? Yeah. Is your parent Kate, Nate? Oh, well, come on down. Yeah, you just come right over by the flower. You look so nice. Yeah, oh yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, we'd like you to explain to all of us about this new innovative program that you started. Do you suppose? I wonder if Larry Lundblad, the president, even doesn't know about it. On the slide, maybe. So you've been doing this program on the slide. Have you been taking funds for it too? And they don't know.
We can turn over funds yet.
Well, we heard this from one of the staff. So that's why we know about it. It was just news. Yeah. Not gossip. News. Yeah, but you can listen since you're not going to share yourself. No. Well, of course we haven't practiced much. So, yeah, this is a new one. Yeah, so, yeah, we heard that you started this new innovative program up in Fargo, North Dakota, over the border where the good Red River Valley soil is. Yeah, and it's about you buying chickens, isn't it? Yeah, yes, you found a new way to raise chickens, right? Yeah. You know about it. He knows. It's been on the slide. Yeah. Yeah. So he decided, he and Nate decided they were going to start this program of raising chickens. So they ordered 500 chickens. Yeah, didn't ya? And they planted them completely under that good Red River Valley soil. Oh, good soil. Yeah. Then, of course, they all died. So then what did you do? You then ordered 500 more chickens, didn't you? Oh, is Kari here? Was that okay? Where is she? You know, we have a budget to think about here at Central Lake College. Yeah. So they ordered 500 more, and they got smart this time. They planted them under the soil, but they left their heads sticking out. Yeah, well, that was smart. Yeah, well, still, they all died too. So they did not know what to think about it. So they wrote a letter right over to the University of Oslo. And they was going to ask them what they thought about this, didn't you? Yeah, so they sat down and wrote the letter describing the situation they were having. Well, did they get a reply? Oh, yeah. But what did it say? Well, the University of Oslo, they couldn't figure it out either. They wanted the guys to send some soil samples. We are sure gonna miss you, but I understand you and Karen have been kind of getting into the swing of, having some days off with the winter break, and so I heard that every morning Larry and Karen have coffee and they listen to the weather report every morning.
There will be 3 to 5 inches of snow today and a snow emergency. All vehicles should be parked on the odd-numbered side of the street. This is to facilitate the snowplow.
Well, Larry's thinking, okay. He gets all bundled up and he shuffles on out. Then he goes outside and he dutifully moves his car to the odd-numbered side of the street. Well, 2 days later, we do get snow in Minnesota. And they were having their morning coffee, and then comes the radio again.
There will be 2 to 4 inches of snow today. A snow emergency has been declared. Please move your cars to the even side of the street.
Well, Larry, hearing that, he gets up, he gets all bundled up, and he shuffles out, and he moves his car to the even side of the street. Well, then a few days later, they were sitting at the table again, really having some nice bonding time, huh? And on comes the weather report.
6 to 8 inches of snow today, and a snow emergency has been declared. Just a minute. You must park. I haven't done this one for a while. You must park your cars on the.
Just then, oh my goodness, the power went out. Well, park it where, Larry said. What should I do? And, well, Karen, she's so smart. She says, oh, well, heck with them, Larry. Don't worry about it today. Just leave the car in the garage. Oh, I see. Charles is here.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I forgot to tell you this. On the way to school today, I tried to be on time, but so I kind of was a little bit bad, and I drove right by Charles, who was having a little problem on the side of the road.
Oh,
Yeah.
what was the problem there?
Well, his keys were locked in the car, and he couldn't get them out. So he worked for 4 hours to get his lovely wife, oh, Catherine, you're here. Good.
Oh, thank
To get
goodness
his
you-
lovely wife, Catherine, out of the car.
one that got us into this trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was I was talking to Mary Sam this morning.
Oh, Mary!
Yeah.
she took enough time off from that work to be here at work today.
Yeah.
So anyway, she was telling me all about her husband. Over Christmas break, he acquired a new habit, didn't he? Yeah. He is now taking his rod and his reel, and he's going fishing in the toilet. Yeah? Didn't you tell me all about that? You wish you hadn't now.
Well, why doesn't she take him to the doctor?
Now, Lena, she can't. She's just too busy cleaning the fish. Well, Lena, speaking of the Minnesota winter weather, Patrick Spradlin and Steve Anderson. And you know, Patrick, you isn't in here, are you? Yeah, because I know you is streaming us right now from your desk. You were scared, weren't you? Well, anyway, Patrick and Steve, they grabbed their poles and they headed out to do some ice fishing. I bet there was a little bit of ice fishing going on over winter, over the break. Yeah. And as they was auguring away, they was getting their hole drilled. Yes. They heard a loud voice.
There are no fish under the ice.
Well, so Patrick and Steve, they look around. Well, they decide they was going to move about 25 feet over here. And they drill over there. Maybe there would be some fish. So they was auguring away, when they heard,
there are no fish under the ice.
Well, they both looked up. And they looked around. Oh. And Patrick said, in a humble voice, yeah, humble for Patrick.
Are you God?
The voice spoke back to him.
No, you nincompoop, I'm the rink attendant.
Well, we are about done making our goodies for you. So, we'll see you all at the potluck. Ha de bra.
When is our meeting now?
Does the thank you graphic have a cutout in it?
No.
The 11th, what do you think?
Yeah, that's not probably very good. Whatever you can delay it, it'd be better for me.